Hello everybody, welcome back to UKITT. We're here live at the Staff's Uni Esports Hub for the Season 4 finale of what has been quite an epic season of battles. Today we've got two big matches, third place playoffs between the Sinnoh Shamans and the Glenwood Garchomps, and the big final between the Spikemas Spiritombs and the Moomatons. We're going to be starting off with the third place playoff between the Shamans and the Garchomps, and I will let them take it over to the casters for the first game.
Welcome to the UKITT finals. I am Connagh Johnston, your usual host, and I am joined alongside you by the one and only David Partington, all niced up in a suit for this very special occasion.
Thank you, Connor. Yes. Hi, my name's David. DavidPartVGC on Twitter. I'm very excited to kind of be here now because, we haven't done a lot of Pokemon in a while, and for us, it's been great to kind of meet up again and see each other because we haven't seen each other in a few years, maybe if at all. But hopefully, in Liverpool coming up at the end of March, that'll be a good one to get everyone together. But for now, I'm really hyped for this UKITT final. This is season 4 now, so it's been going on for a few times. Quite a few seasons, and it's been started mainly because of COVID itself, and the UK and Ireland scene yearning for something to bring them all together. And so this being the 4th season has been a really good opportunity for lots of people to meet and group together and just have a lot of good fun battles.
Yeah, and fun battles have been had throughout every season of this format. We've had some fun Little Cup matches, we've had some fun Unite games, so it's been a really big burst of attention and energy for UKITT and VGC as a whole throughout UK and Ireland. And, these finals, as Samantha said here, are very action-packed, and we're looking to see what players can bring. The third place playoffs, as UKITT history has shown, normally some funky formats, like your Little Cups, like I mentioned earlier, to see what our players have brought. Sometimes we see any percentage, used mons, so that could be fun if we see that. And then, of course, the finals, a new team has got there this year, which we saw last year of the Shamans, so maybe we could see a repetition of that and see if the new team take the crown. But, of course, some of the biggest names in UK VGC are on the opponents in the Spiritombs, which could mean there's going to be a tough fight for either team to get through.
Absolutely. It's definitely not going to be a one-sided match this time, because from the semi-final matches that we had last week, there were 5 matches from each team, and both of the semi-final sets were won 3-2, just showing how really close it was between these top cut teams. But I think, we're going to go into the third place matches now, which will be between the Sinnoh Shamans and the Glenwood Garchomps. So here's our first match. So with the third place playoff matches, it hasn't been maybe as serious as some of the other weeks that we've had, because they're playing for third place. So there's a few little different formats here from the up-to-date format this time. So I think we've got Little Cup.
Yeah, so Little Cup is something I'm quite fond of. It's a format that I played quite a lot over lockdown, because there was the DPEC tournaments, which I believe these matches are based off of. And we have got Rachel there as well, who is currently the DPEC champion on many ladders. The ladder where they did Draft League, they won that. The ladder where they had a bunch of tournaments to crown a winner for an invitational, they went and won that. So you're going to see Jay going up against them with a lot of contention on the line, because if they beat them, they can say, I'm the best player in Little Cup. And they're both bringing fairly good teams in that, Jay going with the common Sun plus Chlorophyll team, which is very good in this format as well, and hopefully it shines as a small version. And of course, Rachel coming in with their team that they used to win that tournament with a couple of changes, I'm assuming, just in case Jay did their scouting. It'll be nice to see how it does go. I'm just going to jump into it to see how it plays update with Jay on the bottom here. Oh, so we're going to see a lead of Grookey alongside the Woobat, so a very good possibility of going Grassy Seed to get a speed boost. Defense boost, sorry, doubling it up and getting some boost with speed as well, in front of the Ninetales and the Scraggy,
yeah.
Scraggy's little one. So, both very passive leads of, getting stats buffed up and stats buffed down. And if this is, a physical Woobat, that's going to lose 2 stages of a physical attack from that Intimidate, which could be very, crucial for Rachel getting the upper hand, but then Jay, falling behind, maybe playing a switch to get a bit of a bulk back up.
Yeah, it's a really nice lead from Rachel to lead that Scraggy, because you immediately apply the fake-out pressure. But I believe Scraggy is slightly slower than Grookey, so Grookey also having the fake-out pressure will likely be able to pick its target that it wants here, and then Woobat to get off what it wants too. However, with Vulpix, right on the other side there, Woobat is not in a position it probably wants to be to start boosting up, if that's what it's going to be for a stored power or whatever. And so if we are about to see that Intimidate come out onto the Woobat, that's going to even hamper it even further. So I wouldn't be surprised on Jay's end to maybe see a switch out of the Woobat, and maybe like a fake out into the Vulpix.
Yeah, and of course, the Vulpix has that option to go speedy with maybe an Ice Shard, which being super effective and no Intimidate's going down, is going to do a lot of damage. But then Woobat commonly could go big and just knock out a max flying or do a lot of damage with it and get that speed boost for Grookey, who could then use a Grassy Glide or its own fake out, obviously, to then slow down the opposing team. We have to see how they play that out. As you see, the defense boost does come off, so it's doubled, but of course the attack drop, as I said, would be doubled again, which could force an odd situation. We see a Dynamax from the Scraggy here and a fake out, so calling that fake out very well. And then the Calm Mind, so it's going to be a special one, so attack drop is not going to matter whatsoever. And then of course the flinch will go off because of that fake out. See how much damage this Max Darkness does. It's a very strong Pokemon. It just lives on 17 HP there, but of course those stat drops will be further because of the effect, again, of Woobat's ability.
Yeah, indeed. So I think Rachel has rightly found that Woobat is probably going to be the threat here of Jay's team. So to completely counteract any potential fake out from Jay's Grookey, they go straight for the Dynamax, and unfortunately he's not getting the K on that Woobat, but there has been no speed boost this turn, and unless Vulpix is in range of a Grassy Glide, which it probably isn't now thanks to the -1 attack, Woobat's going to be going down to an Ice move most likely this turn.
Yeah, of course, with access to Icy Wind and Blizzard, we can mitigate both the opportunities of speed boost and outright damage. Play, there we go. So of course the Hail's going to chip him down, so it's going to make it a bit easier to get some damage off, but Grookey's going to go back to max health because of the grassy terrain. Woobat of course not affected by that. As it switches out and the opposing Vulpix comes out, bringing a Sun in, so 2 little Vulpix going at each other. It's going to see a Protect here from the Scraggy, and Ice Shard just guaranteeing the outspeed, getting a knockout, and putting a Pokemon down on Jay's side. Let's see who they bring in to try and mitigate this side of the field. Is the Timber coming in, so Timber, it's often called like the sometimes the Groudon of the format alongside Mienshao, and it could be really fun to see what's happening here because it's super effective into that Scraggy and it's super effective into that Vulpix, so it hasn't got its fairy typing yet. So maybe it could see a sweep from this if it goes big and gets its Guts boost.
That would be something that would be pretty cool to see, because as far as Little Cup's gone for myself anyway, I haven't had a lot of experience at all, so I'm like just seeing tiny versions of all the large Pokemon that I'm more used to. But as we can see here, there are slight differences even in these. Aren't just small versions of these big Pokemon. As you say, Vulpix has that different typing, and I think stat calculations work a little bit differently because of the lower stats of these Pokemon too. Curious to see the max guard on Rachel's Scraggy there. I'm wondering whether Rachel's Vulpix is maybe not max speed, and maybe they were thinking that Woobat might live the Ice Shard if the Woobat went for the Dynamax, so that kind of just guarantees it there, thanks to the Ice Shard from the previous turn. So well managed, but Jay still has not Dynamaxed yet.
Yeah, so Dynamax possibly preserving it for a point in a game where they can really abuse it. Of course, the weather is going to go now because of that Cloud9. Timber coming out, so Dynamax could see a max guard just to get that ability proc off of the Guts, but not going to see it. Possibly fishing for a burn of that Heat Wave as Max Darkness goes into Vulpix, and it goes down to its Sash, but Grassy Frame may help it out later. Let's see how fast the Cotton Ball thing, I forget its name,
Swablu,
that's the thing. You see a Max Knuckle going in to the Scraggy, and of course that's going to be super effective, but Scraggy is probably the bulkiest thing in this format with Eviolite and Intimidate. So, just sitting there still, and just being a threat because it's got no stat drops, and there's a speed drop on the Timber, or was that a special defense drop? I believe it's a special defense drop from the attacks we've seen. So if that's going to be a Swablu with Hyper Voice, that's going to do a lot of damage. Absolutely.
It's going to do huge amounts, and it's so interesting to see how much weather control there's been in just 3 turns. We've had hail, we've had sun, and then we've had it completely blocked as well. So I think both of these teams have got something that they want to be doing with weather itself. I wouldn't be surprised if Jay hasn't, as we've seen actually, Jay hasn't brought his Bulbasaur, probably because of the threat of the opposing hail and the Swablu on the other end to kind of counteract the weather. So Timber going on the offensive here and being the main target, not too much of a surprise, but I'd be curious to see what the item on the Timber is, and whether it is the Eviolite that is so priced in this format.
Yeah, because if we haven't seen the item activate, as you said, so if it's Eviolite, that's going to be a very bulky Pokemon, because it's bulkier, throughout the entire evolution stage. As the Dynamax does end for Rachel, so that's going to be really hard, to kind of mitigate the field, as we are going to see a switch out, so it's not going to be as bulky. The burn going to what would have been that Scraggy, so brilliant play there from Jay, and Rachel switching out, make it even better. And Max Rockfall grabs the knockout from that +1 attack on Timber, and we're going to see the weather does stay now because of the lack of Cloud9. And we've got a Pokemon weak to rock and fighting to sat in front of this Timber here, and it's burnt as well, so health is chipping away. And Scraggy does come in, try and really affect the field, and gets Intimidates down. And we do see it switching straight out again into that Grookey, so just having a revolving door of Intimidate to try and mitigate that Timber's damage, and just make sure that Vulpix is dying to the chip of the hail. Yeah,
that's what Rachel needs for sure, but Timber is really going to town at the moment. It's got one more turn of Dynamax, and it's likely going to be a Max Knuckle into what was that Scraggy. And to get that attack boost obviously really high. It looks like it's quite fast as well. It's outsped the Swablu. I'm not sure on what the base speed differences there are. And Swablu may be a bit more of a bulky set too, so we're not too surprised there, but it does go straight down. Even with the crit, not sure if that mattered. But Jay even has his own Grookey in the back as well, which is looking pretty nice if coming in unintimidated into both that Vulpix and the Scraggy, if you can get a little bit more chip into that Vulpix there.
Yeah, they're coming in as Rillaboom does, it's the only terrain setter, and it has Grassy Glide, which is very strong damage. It's protecting the Vulpix, not going to stop it from dying to that chip damage from the weather, but it's going to protect it from this Blizzard, and possibly a Grassy Glide as well. Well, it won't be because of the terrain not setting it off. Max Knuckle grabs that knockout, giving another attack boost to both Pokemon inside the field, so it's now back to +1. And see what Grookey goes for. It's not going to go for anything, it's switched in obviously. Forgetful Me, as the weather does chip it down. And then we'll see what comes in the place of Vulpix. It's obviously going to be that Scraggy because the 2 Pokemon down, so Intimidate. So no revolving door of Intimidates here, and it's just going to be down to who can live the weather the longest and who can outbulk the Intimidates. Of course, being a bulky 2 Pokemon in the Scraggy and the Grookey, they may live longer, but that Vulpix could threaten burns, could threaten a crit. Whatever could happen, it's Little Cup. We don't know any calcs. It's just going with a throw.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Vulpix has just protected, so it is fake out bait right now to just get completely picked off. But Grassy Terrain is also gone, so on Rachel's end, the Grookey's not going to be able to Grassy Glide anything before anything moves. And this Timber may even outspeed it this time, because I imagine you probably don't need to invest much speed into your Grookey because you're having Fake Out and Glide at the same time. So, however, if Jay does want to preserve his Vulpix, he's got to switch out into his own Grookey, and therefore the Grassy Glide on Rachel's end is then active, which may put Timber in a bit of a tricky position if it's not too bulky.
Yeah, if it's not too bulky, it is going to drop down, and of course, it couldn't actually capitalize on any stat drops that happen. The Fake Out does get the Vulpix, so making it a 2-2 now. The Mach Punch doesn't do much damage actually from how bulky it is. The Drain Punch is a fair chunk, and he's getting health back. So this is going to be a war of attrition of back and forth, Drain Punching, Mach Punching until something dies to the Sand Chip. Grookey comes in, bringing back the Grassy Terrain. And we can see a Protect come out from the Scraggy, so Scraggy is very safe. Fake Out going into the opposing Grookey though, catching it off guard. And then we're going to see if we're going to see a double up into that slot. It is the Ice Punch, it just lives, and we're going to see a freeze. No, we are not, and the Hail will the Sandsar will chip away at that. So, a turn of events there, calling that Protect very well and doubling up into the Grookey. Possibly a bigger threat for what's on the sides of the field, because Scraggy is more of a supportive Pokemon with Drain Punch. He's going to sit there getting his health back. But if that's the one Pokemon on the field, that's going to be an easier thing to double target onto.
Yeah, it is. So, it was a great target too. You're not often going to carry Protect on your Rillaboom / Grookey because you need that room for Fake Out, the Grassy Glide, probably something pivoting as well. There's not a lot of room for that, so it was a nice play on Jay to kind of capitalise there, and now he's really in the driver's seat with that Grookey and that Mach Punch combination that he's got now.
You have to see if they capitalise it throughout the game. See, the Grassy Terrain being back, they're going to heal everything, which is going to be a bit of a shame for trying to knock out that really bulky Scraggy. Grassy Glide still misses the KO, so Scraggy being as bulky as ever. Grassy Glide into Timber, just misses it. That is very shameful as it goes to the Mach Punch. If we see a Drain Punch into that Timber, it's going to get a little bit of health back. We're going to see it into the Grookey, so that's just be a bit more healing from the Scraggy. And it's just going to come down to who can outlive it. The sand is gone though, so there's only healing here on out for that Timber as it protects. Not, a bit suboptimal, gets your own HP back, but then you're letting them heal a bit more. Hopefully we're going to see it knock out the Timber, because Timber is threatening a lot more here with those super effective stab attacks. Let's see how they work around this. See a Grassy Glide come out fast as always, taking very little damage, just enough to make it threatening. Drain Punch, got to get that HP back, knock out the Timber, and we've come down to this. Grookey with a lot of HP versus a Pokemon that we know it's not knocking out from this range because of the healing from grassy terrain, even with that stab boost and that grassy terrain boost.
Yeah, it's actually like I kind of eat my words from earlier now. Like I didn't expect Grookey to be doing so little damage to this Scraggy. It's so bulky, and grassy terrain's going to wear out pretty soon. And that protect on Rachel's end has been really huge to one stall out that and two, and allow it to heal up after all these attacks as well. So actually, I think Jay even may need a critical hit depending on how much damage the grassy glides are doing out of grassy terrain.
Yeah, I have to see if that crit does come, because of course the Drain Punch is going to make it even harder to knock out this Scraggy as the Protect comes off. Is that a double Protect we've just seen?
No.
No, it isn't. Okay. So
Okay.
Grassy Glide go into it. The healing on both sides. Rachel obviously stalling out as much healing as possible. Grassy Terrain gone, so Grassy Glides do even less damage, still quite a lot because of Grookey's high attack stat. But then Drain Punch from an equally high attack stat. We're going to be here for a while, gamers. So we'll sit back, relax, and to see the constant loop of Protect and Grassy Glide.
Yeah, I think so. It's like so Grassy Glide's doing what 20% down to 15, and Drain Punch is doing like 33, and like healing then like almost 20% again. So it needs to be a crit, and it wasn't there that turn. And I think this Drain Punch is enough.
The Drain Punch is it.
Okay.
That is the game one going. So Scraggy showing that it's a big threat. Have to see if that sort of threatening aura does pass through.
Yeah, we will. And what was quite interesting about this game as well, you've got a lot of players who've got very similar Pokemon. You've got two Vulpix forms, you've both got a Grookey, and you've got lots of like priority related moves going on too. So a lot of speed interactions have been revealed here. So we know that Jay's Grookey is faster or at least a speed tie with Rachel's Grookey, and that Timber is slower than Rachel's Grookey because we saw the interactions of two Grassy Glides and a Mach Punch all in one turn there. So both players are going to be using that to their advantage here, I think, and that may mean Jay might go for more Drain Punches this game. So let's head up and see how Game 2 plays out.
We'll see how Game 2 does play out here. As we could see a similarly, we are seeing the Scraggy again, so Scraggy being the threat that it always is, coming out alongside that Vulpix again, so we're going to see the nice combo of Intimidate plus Hail. Of course, we're going to see the Grookey this time leading, so the Sun is going to go straight up, and the double attack drop, again, not really affecting that Woobat, and switching out straight away into Timber, getting rid of any drops, and then another switch in, so players switching in all around. We see a Dynamax, we see a Will-O-Wisp straight into that Scraggy, so it's been nerfed pretty much this entire game now. Black Darkness that was going into that Woobat is doing absolutely nothing, so the burn really paying off there.
Yeah, like absolutely well played by Jay there. He goes straight into the threat that there was last game and completely neuters that Dynamax target too. So Rachel's committed a lot that turn, and Jay's really kind of gotten to the bonus out of what's happened here. And he switches in Timber as well to take the Max Darkness, so it hardly takes any damage and preserves the Woobat, which is likely going to be quite a threat late game, especially if he's got that Grookey in the back to give it the Grassy Seed boost.
Yeah, and that's going to be... Well, it doesn't get healing on the Woobat, but that is still healing for the rest of the team with that burn up. So that burn's going to be mitigating any healing process of what's going on. You know, and that Drain Punch is going to be doing less as well. And a burn going off into the Swablu as well. Swablu, not known for being a physical attacker, but being a very bulky Pokemon, is going to do a lot. But we see a Max Darkness still do loads, not get the Focus Sash. And then the Ice Punch going into... It's not a Dragon type though, so it's not going to be doing all the damage. Hyper Voice coming out, getting knockout on the Vulpix. Timber with lower special defense isn't taking that all too well, but it's taking it just enough to stay on the field. And the burn goes off, and Swoobat comes in here. Well, Woobat, sorry, no Grassy Terrain for it yet, but still in position where it can Dynamax and get a double speed boost, a double whatever boost it needs to get some nice knockouts.
It definitely can, and it's in a very nice position too. I don't know what Swablu runs in this format at the moment, other than Hyper Voice, so I'd be curious to see what more it might reveal here that maybe helps Rachel out here. Maybe something, I don't know if it gets toxic anymore. It's probably got Roost, so it can maybe stall out a bit, but Woobat is threatening absolute power once it gets up those Carmines, which I assume it's going to have. Comparison to that Grassy C2, once Grookey then comes in, and then with a stored power, it should be destroying this team. And if it's got that flying move as well, with that airstream, which it likely has, it's got something for the Scraggy too. So once in this position, it's looking pretty good for Jay, I'd say.
It's looking pretty good for Jay, and it's a threat now. It does go big, as I said. So with nothing really to stop it, it's just going to sweep through. Not doing much damage to the airstream, but that's still 2 speed boosts, and now Timber is boosted as well. Going for the Ice Punch, opting to get rid of the Swablu, possibly throwing a late game Peristrong if it has it, and then the Max Darkness with that burn doing nothing but a double special defense drop. So if any special attackers come in the back, like the Vulpix, like the Drifloon, that is going to be a lot of damage going across. If the Vulpix does come in, setting up the hail and just adding a bit of chip as the airstream comes off into actually quite a lot of damage. I eat my words there. And then Blizzard goes in and it gets double knockout though because of all that damage. Scraggy, even with that burn, is doing what it wants to do on the field.
Yeah, it has. Those special defense boosters, drops rather on Jay's end have been absolutely huge. And that's the Dynamax threat gone on Jay's end too. Scraggy is still sitting around. It could probably go out, come back in, get more intimidates, fake out again because Rachel still has 3 of their Pokemon left. Timber's going down too, so it's just Grookey, I'm guessing, to come in here, and it's got a lot on its plate to work with.
Yeah, and in front of an Ice type as well, it's going to be taking a lot of damage here.
Yeah.
The burn going to make the Scraggy a little less of an issue, but it's still got Drain Punch, it's still got healing. Scraggy coming in, giving extra healing across the field, so it's going to be chip, no chip, everything's going on. There's a Protect from Rachel's side of the field on the Vulpix, meaning it's not going to take as much damage, and the Grassy Glide going to Protect, good call there. Just leaving them with a free turn this turn, so just go for a Grassy Glide and a Blizzard, and that might just pick it up if the damage rolls go in their favour. Yeah,
that's pretty safe for Rachel there. The fake out, and then you're sure you get off a nice somewhat sort of ice type attack. But it's the Aurora Veil.
Yeah, the Aurora Veil, so possibly just wanting to stay around a little bit longer. Maybe something in the back, maybe it is a Frillish in the back, just in case, anything happens. The Grassy Glide goes in, maybe knowing their calcs there, knowing Grassy Glide's a knockout. Knock off and reveal what item was. It was an Eviolite.
Ah, there it is.
So maybe the Blizzard's not quite getting it. So have to see what that turns into.
Yeah,
for the game.
I'm guessing Rachel maybe thought Grookey was kind of coming for Grookey having Protect there, and at least getting something off, which would be guaranteed the Aurora Veil. So there's another fake out though.
Yeah, fake out, Grassy Glides, just rotating these fake outs, and we're in a range where maybe the Scraggy can just start doing its Drain Punches to get the knockout it needs. Of course, Grassy Glide is going to go first. We see it go down to 3%. All Scraggy has to do is do an attack. It happily lives that. We're supposed to see a nice little Drain Punch, a Lash Out even, to get that game, and that's Rachel taking the first match of our UKITT third place playoffs, and in such style, coming back from some really awkward positions in the game, and then going across into taking advantage of those and winning.
Yeah, congrats to Rachel there. An absolute epic win. I think both games there, I was like, oh, Jay's got it from here, and then somehow Rachel just comes out and takes it with the Scraggy and even the burn Scraggy, really putting in the work, and then just positioning everything really nicely. And actually, interesting, right at the end there, we saw that the Grookies were speed tying after all. So didn't come in too much into a play there, but well played by both players for sure. I know them quite well, and I'm not surprised that it came down to what was actually fairly a close game there, even though it was just a 2-game set.
Yeah, in those 2 games, like I said, the Grookey speed tying, with so little data we have in this format, Grookies often will just run the 252-252 spread in bulk or attack, just to make sure it does as much damage whilst also living as many hits as possible. And that is just something that, they both showed off. Both Grookies were very bulky. I do believe Rachel actually had a berry on her Grookey from what I know of their team. And of course that showed off, it didn't need that Eviolite like the opposing team did, just because it's bulky as it is, with the Grassy Terrain healing, with the Intimidates. And hopefully this does encourage players to go across and use similar tactics in their future games, because, it just shows these Pokemon, even though how little they are, when they're facing those other little Pokemon, they're going to do really good.
Yeah, I agree. So I believe we'll be going soon into our next game of the third place playoffs between the Sinnoh Shamans and the Glimwood Garchomps. So let's see who we've got next.
Yeah, we'll see what teams are coming up next as it just comes over to our screen. And we'll see that is the Series 12 match. And these are 2 teams, at least 1 team actually, that I recognise very well from Jack's run-through of the IC, where he has gone positive, to say the least, He had a very bad day 2, but day 1 and day 3, he absolutely swept the competition. And it's just this, they're throwing off the competition with 2 steel types, thinking, oh, I can just Sacred Sword it. But they take those Sacred Swords very well, and then Ditto, is a masterclass of Pokemon in this format, yet again, giving you the option to have a second Zacian, or just a third restricted overall. And the other side is everyone's favourite, the Kyurem White. Everyone loves to play with it, but also hates to play against it. And I love to see how the players here use these uncommon Pokemon to their advantage.
Yeah, I agree. That some unusual restricted pairs for sure, but we've both got Grimmsnarls, they've both got Urshifus. It'll be interesting to see which Urshifus they actually end up being in this set. And yeah, interesting you say about the Ditto as well, and especially when a Ditto copies another Zacian, you get another attack boost on top of the attack boost you've already copied. So you end up with a +2 Zacian a lot of the time. If you're using a Ditto, which can be very scary, and actually in this matchup looks really key for Jack actually, because it's so good into Kyurem and the Grimmsnarl itself too. So I'm really excited to see these teams, because it's not something I've ever really come across. Is the Dialga more of a Trick Room mon here? Is it just kind of Life Orb, go ham and absolutely sweep? So let's see. Yeah, I'm very excited.
So as we see the players leading out with that Dialga, so Dialga, common leader Jack has used in past matches for this team, and the Grimmsnarl in front of it, the Kyurem, so not going to like those steel type attacks, and the Incineroar not bothering over these Pokemon, because they're both special attackers, and Kyurem, unless it has a Berry, isn't going to want to face down this Dialga.
No, it's not. Interesting, though, that Dialga's pressure goes off before the Turbo Blades of Dynamite's Kyurem there, indicating Dialga, which is actually slower than Kyurem with a base 90 speed, is actually outspeeding here. So, looks like a fast Dialga on Jack's end, making the most of maybe the Thunder Wave or Scary Face support that Grimmsnarl might provide here, and is probably going to just be hitting hard with a lot of offensive moves. So, I would be surprised to see maybe a Steel Spike into the Kyurem, but Dynamite having a slow, maybe bulky Kyurem is really interesting. It's obviously going to live some sort of hit here, and then maybe a Max Quake into the Dialga to try and get its own Spadef up, so it can actually take the hits a little bit better from Dialga. But I think the corner's in Jack's end here at the moment with the speed and the type advantage maybe into Kyurem.
Yeah, I have to see how they take advantage of that, because of course, even with the physical attack boost from the Steel Spike, if the Kyurem lives, that's a special attack, and that's going to be doing a lot of damage. Grimmsnarl, of course, can go for maybe like a Fake Tears to make sure it drops down to a Max Steel Spike, but then Incineroar can just fake out that slot, and then that's a turn wasted. A Kyurem could get a Weakness Policy if it's Weakness Policy, and then knock out the Dialga in return. Let's see how the players do achieve this. Kimdate's, of course, going out slow, it's the slowest in the field. Both of them are going big, so if there's a Weakness Policy, it might be procced. The Fake Out on Grimmsnarl, so something very uncommon there.
Yes.
And then the Max Quake, so just knocking out that Instinct, getting a special defense boost, so really playing around that Kyurem, possibly fearing the Weakness Policy, and then the Max Quake in return only does about 40% there, and that just shows how big our Dialga is as Regieleki comes in, and Regieleki, it's not going to do much to Dialga because of its typing, and Dialga has shown it's got a Max Quake, it's got that boost special defense. That's not a Slash Regieleki, that's going down this turn, and Kyurem is doing even less damage.
Wow, yeah, that's got to be an Assault Vest Dialga on Jack's end, based on how much it's taking. Kyurem is, a very strong Pokemon, so I'm very surprised to see it live that. Or maybe it's just not very offensive Kyurem, it's just all bulk, maybe. We're yet to see that, obviously. But yeah, no life up on the Dialga, which we often do see on Dialgas when you do see them. And yeah, the Grimmsnarl, even going for the fake, and also outspeeding the opposing Incin, which didn't look like it was going for the fake out, so I wonder if there is maybe some speed investment on the Grimmsnarl to make sure it does outspeed other Incins to be able to get that KO, because that little, arguably say a tech on Grimmsnarl at the moment, because we don't see a lot of fake out on it, comes up really key in this first game.
Yeah, and, just getting those bulk boosts off and then playing it round is going to be important as you come in for the Scary Face. Making sure that Regieleki is slower, so Max Steel Spike comes out, going into that Berry Kyurem, not doing much damage, possibly, fearing a Protect or switch from the Regieleki. Another Steel Spike comes out, and just lives on the Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl often not taking those hits. Electro Grab finishing it off, making the Dialga slower. So it might underspeed the Kyurem now, but it's definitely going to be iffy in speed tiers of Regieleki. As Zacian comes in, and Zacian we know, as we see Behemoth Blade before I pause there, so we'll just let that play out. And Behemoth Blade is probably going to knock out because of the ability of it. And it also puts Regieleki at threat, because even though it's now switching off from the Volt Switch, if it hadn't done that, Zacian would have been faster because of the speed drops, and then it could have got a nice knockout of Player Off or Behemoth Blade, and Dalga could have steamrolled from there.
Yeah, I agree. And we do see that little critical hit there on this turn 3 of the Behemoth Blade. I don't know how bulky this Curium was, or because it did have the defense boost from its previous Steel Spike. I think Dynamite's previously used a Curium White team, and maybe with that Berry too. So, but often it's probably not going to be taking 2 steel type attacks, and yet it does here. So, Curium does unfortunately go down for Dynamite, but Dialga is now pretty slow, so maybe something like Dynamite's own Zacian can come in here and deal with it. But it still would have been naturally outspeeding, and it still has the opposing Zacian of Jax to deal with. So the speed tiers of both of those Zacians might be quite key in this endgame.
Yeah, they'll be very key, and I'll have to see which one is faster, because of course the Grimmsnar gone down, no speed drops. The Urshifu comes in, revealing the Water-type Urshifu.
Okay.
The Max Quake going into that, doing a fair chunk, and with the physical defense boost, he's going to be quite happy in front of that. Unless it gets a close combat crit, of course it's Water-type stab against the crits. Regieleki comes in, you see a switch out as Ditto comes in, and unfortunately it becomes Water-type in front of a Regieleki. As Zacian protects, just defending itself, it doesn't get targeted out of Ditto, luckily. Zacian preventing the switch out there as a reversal comes out there, possibly predicting some form of damage up as Electric Whip comes out, knocks out the Ditto, makes the Zacian slower, so if the opposing Zacian comes in, it's going to be faster. Behemoth Blade goes out there, knocks out the Urshifu, and then it's going to be Dalga coming back in, and Regieleki versus the world there.
Yeah, interesting Dynamite not even bringing the Zacian there. Not too surprising, because I think it's quite obvious for Jack to bring the Ditto there to really make use of it, and so Dynamite kind of maybe matching up with that and not going for his own Zacian to kind of counter Jack's own Ditto that could be a Zacian, which is quite interesting. The Urshifu with the reversal is so interesting. It's definitely going to be a focus sash on that then to be able to get the damage off, but it's looking like maybe that's its only fighting move. And hence we saw the reversal revealed there, even though it wasn't on very, maybe like third health or so. And Jack's also seen the whole moveset of it too, thanks to his Ditto, which is another advantage of having it. You get to reveal the whole moveset, especially in a game 1. You get all that information going into games 2 and 3 there too. And yeah, it's kind of Regieleki versus the world now, and there's still another Pokemon in... No, sorry, there's not another Pokemon in the back, but I'm guessing if it is the Earth Power from the Dialga, then it is just the one shot, and I'm guessing the sash is on Urshifu, so I think this is a wrap, but we'll see.
This could be a wrap, and we could see, if it is sashed, it could be quick attack on Zacian, as the Regieleki protects, and we can see the Earth Power is revealed. Of course, that was what was powering the Max Quake, so this could just be the end game, protecting Zacian, not to take any damage, Electro Web just to cover, spread damage and protect. Dialga's not going to care, and this Earth Power is probably going to grab the knockout, which, no, the Sash.
Oh, okay.
Does
right.
get revealed there, so this does make it a bit iffy now.
Yes.
For Jack, as the Electro Web comes out and gets the double knockout.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Absolutely, my words there. Okay, so Dynamite actually takes it with the 1 HP Regieleki in the end. It seemed like Dynamite was on the back foot for the entirety of that game, but I think the key knockout of that Ditto so early on basically made it didn't do anything in that match for Jack. So even though he was ahead, it was like he was only playing with 3 mons thanks to that Ditto just dropping there. So I think it was a good start for Jack, but I think having everything just going down and having the speed control that was provided by Regieleki was what ended up getting Dynamite the win there.
Yeah, Dynamite taking that win, comfortably because of Regieleki's sheer power. And, having that Electro Web meant that they could cover their boundaries. Be like, okay, if you protect, Electro Web's going to slow you down, even though you're already slower because of your natural speeds. Going to make you even slower, just in case there's some sort of weird speed interaction. Quick attack was a bit of a threat there with the Sash, but it didn't matter because even if it was there, there was still going to be a double knockout regardless, or a single knockout depending on which Pokemon was targeted.
Yeah, so game 2 is ready and set. Let's get into it with these really 2 cool, really nice teams, because Curium White and Dialga do not get a lot of use, and we saw them Dynamaxing off the bat straight at turn 1, so I kind of want to see that again, really, and see more about this Curium that Dynamite's got with its Berry, slow, bulky, and whether it would have actually lived that Behemoth Blade. That would have been really cool.
That would have been really cool. Often they are built to live them, So to see, if that calc does come into Dialga, possibly with that Grimmsnarl again. Dialga and Grimmsnarl coming out. Jack really liking its lead. And then Kieran coming out. Will we see the Incineroar again? We are going to see the Incineroar again. So we can see, how players do adapt to this. It's the same lead, but Dynamite knows that Incineroar can go down to a Max Quake. But does he know that Kieran can maybe take a Fake Tears plus the Max Seal Spike?
Interesting you say Fake Tears there. Yeah, we haven't seen that on the Grimmsnarl yet. So if it does have that, which may be more commonly associated with the Fake Out, it's probably not the screens. That could be a very powerful combination. The Kyurem being very bulky though, with the Berry Barrier, I wonder if it maybe doesn't go down if the Kyurem's able to get a Quake off first, but as we've seen, the Dialga is still faster. Incineroar may feel like it's able to go for the Fake Out this turn if Dynamite thinks the speed on its Incineroar is enough to outspeed the Grimmsnarl, and that could be a big difference between Incin going down if the Fake Out chip is enough for it to survive. So it's a tough one. I think Dynamite's still on the back foot this turn, and it's in Jack's corner to make a call as to what he wants to target, because a Quake into the Incin is really safe for him, because nothing can come in and resist it.
Yeah, nothing comes in on that, and if he does get it, that's a special defense boost for the Regieleki, and for the Kyurem. Nothing else really going for those physical attacks. So, either what he goes for, he gets the boost for the respective Pokemon. It could be in the back. We have to see which boost he goes for, as the Dialga does go big again. Kyurem goes big again. We could see a Fake Tears here. We see a Fake Out, so possibly was a Fake Tears for that turn. And we could see a Max Steel Spike coming off. A Max Wormwind gets the knockout though.
Oh.
And that's going to drop the attacks out of Incineroar, but it does mean that Regieleki can come in, which it does. And that's going to give it, a bit more opportunity to get more damage off because there's no special defense boosts.
Yeah, I must have missed the Life Orb from last turn, because we do see it there. So the Kyurem absolutely drops. So maybe there's a lot more defense on that Kyurem rather than special defense. And having your Dynamaxmon go down so early on and no Steel Spikes coming out there at all is absolutely huge. Yeah, we don't know what Grimmsnarl was going for there. Maybe a Fake Out of its own, or maybe practice move, as you say. But I'd like to think it's probably a Fake Out to kind of prevent Incin going for the parting shot into the Dialga. And so maybe indicating Incineroar's that still is naturally faster than the Grimmsnarl. But Dynamite is in a really tricky position here, and we see Regieleki come in, interestingly, as opposed to something like the Dialga, the Zacian that could maybe hit the Dialga a bit harder. But maybe Regieleki being Sash, it knows it's going to live some sort of hit this turn from the Dialga and get at least something off for itself.
Yeah, we have to see how it does work, because we know it can get the double knockout in that late game. Fake Tears going into the Incineroar. Ooh. Jack, not knowing his type effectiveness is there, as the Eerie Impulse is going to Dialga, boost the stats, and a Max Hailstorm possibly trying to break that Sash. And, Flare Blitz getting a crit on the Grimmsnarl for his attack drops.
Okay, so Dynamite's got everything that they could have got out of this turn, to be honest. Like the crit Flare Blitz to stop any further Fake Tears, and yeah, Jack maybe forgetting about the Prankster interaction with Dark types, with not them affecting. Yeah, so good to see the Eerie Impulse from Regieleki for Dynamite, because that's exactly what they needed to be able to neuter this Dialga a bit more. So I wonder if the Urshifu is still in the back for Dynamite, or whether it is that Zacian, and what is going to make use of it.
Yeah, and if it is the Zacian, that gives the threat that Ditto can transform into the Zacian. But if Ditto comes in now, Ditto could transform into either two Pokemon, which isn't the scariest situation, but also isn't the best, as Rillaboom comes in, bring up Grassy Terrain so Dialga can heal a little bit. Eerie Impulse, though, is just going to neuter this Dialga to the floor. Max Quake, with how low damage it was on, is going to knock out that Regieleki, giving it a special defense boost, but that won't matter because most special attackers are gone. High horsepower into Incineroar, just misses the KO and activates the Ear Papa Berry. And Flare Blitz doesn't get the knockout because the attack drop does a nice chunk of damage there, meaning the Rillaboom is now at threat of what could come in from the back.
Yeah, so interestingly, no Fake Out or Grassy Glide, just the Regieleki there, maybe expecting a Protect, but it ends up getting a lot of damage into the Incineroar, which is really key for it to be in range of maybe a Sacred Sword from what's the Zacian, which is probably in the back for Jack now. But Dynamite's about to reveal his last Pokemon here, and I think he's got to hope it's the Zacian at the moment, because that's what's going to look really strong in this endgame. It's just if Incineroar can support it enough versus Jack's likely Zacian as well.
Yeah, as the shield it is, and of course Dialga can switch out, and we might know it's bulky enough to take those hits from the Sacred Swords. As Grassy Glide into Incineroar, doing a bit of chip damage, not getting enough to get knockout. And then Zacian doing what Zacian does, Behemoth Blading, getting that knockout, Earth Power, so double into Zacian, possibly predicting a Protect here, and making it so it's Zacian in front of Dialga and possibly a Ditto. If Ditto comes in there, we're going to see that world famous double attack boost from the transformation, as it is the Zacian though. So a single attack boost is going to be enough, and it protects. And we could just see, if we see it right, a double protect though, no Sacred Sword, and Earth Power going off. So, you know, at that drop special attack, I don't know how much that's going to do, but you can't really change that with no switches. And it's just going to be coming down to the hail and pretty much which Zacian is faster.
Yeah, we've seen, thanks to the hail, Jack's Zacian's faster, and it's faster again this turn. So likely not a speed tie at the moment, but both of the Zacians live, both taking a little bit different amounts of damage, but it is, even at that incredibly low special attack stat Dialga has now, it is able to pick up the much needed KO on Dynamite there. But very close game for that one, and Jack is been able to take the game too. So Connagh, what do you think is going to like change for game 3? Because we've seen the same leads but for both games, but the outcome being different each time.
I think Jack now has a knowledge of what to bring in the front and the back. Maybe not switch a Ditto in on a Pokemon that is going to be weak to all the other Pokemon in front of him. And, you know, he's going to optimize from game 2 what did go well and what didn't go well. Maybe making sure that he gets the knockouts in the right slot. Maybe where he's focusing down on the Incineroar, getting maybe some special defense boosts for that Regieleki, or just outright knocking out Regieleki with that max Hailstorm. He must know his calcs to have gone for that, or he was just risking, if I get a crit, it'll proc the Sash, it'll go down. We'll have to see what we're going to see from that. And obviously, he can pull through.
Yeah, it was interesting to see Jack's play style in that last game as well. I think he was a little bit on the more risky side for sure. He was like kind of making a little bit more calls rather than playing too safe, especially in that end game too, like where he like glided and earth powered into the Incineroar, kind of more predicting that Zacian would take out the Rillaboom that turn. Whereas if like Dynamite had just left that Zacian alone and then gone into the Dialga that turn, then Rillaboom would have gotten a lot off, especially if like Dialga had gone down that turn. Then if Rillaboom had got maybe a high horsepower off instead, it would have actually got the KO rather than risking not having got a KO at all that turn. And then the protect on the Zacian at the end too as well was again another risky play if like Dynamite had just gone for the Sacred Sword into the Dialga instead. So, but it worked out for him. He played it really nicely. But it almost went down to that Behemoth Blade from the opposing Zacian, but Zacians don't naturally go down to each other's Behemoth Blades, so it's likely just a really fast and high attack Zacian on Jack's end.
Yeah, and we'll pass into the game 3 now to see how the players have adapted and how they're going to take it over and try and give their team that extra push to victory. Of course, if the Shamans win, they're a step closer to winning the third place playoff, and if the Garchomps win through Jack, you know, they've taken a step back and they're going to be able to go through and take the win.
Yeah, let's get that game 3 up now. So, as we can see, the same teams as the last 2 games, as is always the case in best of 3s. But are we going to see the same leads this time? I think both are pretty comfortable with that lead. And we've seen now that in the Incineroar and Dynamite set is probably faster than Jack's Grimmsnarl, and is therefore able to get the fake out off. But knowing that Dynamite now knowing Kyurem can just drop in one turn to Jack's Dialga, I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe switch up his lead from that Kyurem to something else.
Yeah, I have to see if he's learned his mistakes. Maybe that is the only lead he can go into it. Maybe hoping that he can get a Max Dragon off into Dialga, neuter it, or a Max Quake and take less damage. We just don't know what the pattern is. Or we could see Zacian come in, go for a Sacred Sword, and do as much damage as possible. There are so many different ways they can do it. I have to see by jumping into this game 3 now. See the Dialga yet again here from Jack and his best friend the Grimmsnarl. And we could see on the other side there's the Kyurem, and it is the Incineroar yet again. So both players opting to go for the same sort of pressure from these past couple games. It's Dialga goes big, Kyurem goes big. You've seen it all here before, folks. Fake out into Incineroar.
Oh.
So not risking any fake shenanigans, going for the Max Quake into the Kyurem, possibly predicting a switch in, or just wanting to defense boosts. And then Steel Spike into Grimmsnarl, activating the Focus Sash, and this turn has gone a lot different.
It has, Connagh. Yeah, lots of stuff happens there. So Dynamite doesn't go for a fake out of his own. He goes for maybe possibly a parting shot. So I I think it's a fairly safe play for Jack to go for that fake out, because even though he's the slower fake out, Jack's Dynamax just Dialga every time, so Incineroar's not going to be faking out Dialga. But yeah, the Max Quake into the Kyurem, I think, obviously, as there's 2 Fairy types in Dynamite's team, it's a fairly obvious switch. I think Jack was probably thinking that Kyurem may switch into something like the Zacian to take the Max Dragon, but Dynamite just like commits to what he wants to do, keeps the Kyurem in, and is able to get off a huge Steel Spike. However, Dialga is still faster going into the next turn, and is a special attacker, so is still threatening the KO on this Kyurem this turn, and Dynamite wants to make a safer play by switching out something. He now has to give up his Dynamax. And again, a defense boost on Incineroar isn't really helping versus what Dialga has for Quake. So Dialga is still threatening loads into the second turn here, even though Kyurem went down the first turn in Game 2.
Yeah, let's see if they capitalise on that. As you know, the Incineroar's going to flinch from that last turn. Max Quake getting knockout like we know it does. So another special defense boost. And then, Jack's pretty safe to go ahead for the rest of the game here, because most of the Pokemon that are threatening it are especially offensive. Of course, the Zacian can still come in, gets a big knockout. Spirit Break, making the stats even lower on that Kyurem. So those special attacks are going to do nothing to Dialga if it has got a Dragon type attack. So of course, the Hail will chip down, get rid of the Grimmsnarl. The Zacian comes in, and of course, Regieleki from the other side. Of course, Regieleki can threaten with Electro Web, meaning Zacian might be slower than Kyurem. But right now, Kyurem looks like it's going to do the same old of going with a big Behemoth Blade. At that health, Berry might not help it. Maybe with the +1 defense it might, but we don't know. And Dialga has been shown to knock out that Regieleki. If it goes to the Max Quake and the chip from the Hail will get rid of it, that is a step in the right direction for Jack.
Yeah, that's a big point you make there about the Hail, because even though it was able to get the sashed Grimmsnarl down that last turn, it will also be getting down the Regieleki this turn if Dialga does go for that Quake, which is pretty safe, to be honest. It's got 2 special defense boosts. I don't think it's going to be going down to unless Dynamite gets a crit from the Kyurem. Maybe it's a Protect on Zacian here, just to allow Dialga to get that Quake off, because if it is Zacian in the back again for Dynamite, then the Quake into the Regieleki is just a really safe play.
Yeah, it's just super safe, and you're getting that other special defense boost. So to see, are any speed drops on Regieleki Protect, not wanting to take that Max Quake, knowing the outcome of it. Behemoth Blade going into the Kyurem, not saving it even with the +1 defense and with a Berry. Max Quake is still going to do loads of damage because of Regieleki's fragility, taking it to just above 1/3 health. And another little stat boost there for the Dialga and Zacian, which means they're going to take those Electro Webs a lot better than they did in that Game 1. And then Zacian comes in, threatening both of these Pokemon, as we see the Electro Web coming out, making them slower, and Zacian might be pocketing the opposing Zacian because it can't do much. Going to that Dialga, guaranteeing that, it's gone, it can't Earth Power it later. Behemoth Blade to Regieleki though, maybe predicting a Zacian Protect, and we're coming into a nice little game state here, where it comes down to who Jack has in the back, to see if they can knock out the Zacian. If it's the real, it's the Ditto, and here it comes, but it's not going to transform because of the slot. Yeah, it's going to go straight down, not revealing a Choice Scarf, and then it's going to come down to Behemoth Blade battle, and I do believe Dynamite's one will win this because of the speed drop.
Yeah, so like in Game 1, Dynamite just uses the really key pawn in his Regieleki, not to do damage, but for the really key speed control, to allow his Zacian just to outspeed everything and just take knockouts every single time. So really well played by Dynamite in the end there. I wouldn't call of him wanting that one, I think, because again, Jack had like the momentum going from the start, like getting so many KOs. So yeah, an absolutely wild set with some really cool Pokemon.
Yeah, and of course it came to a shame that the end game Ditto came in the wrong slot, not showing a Choice Scarf, so wasn't able to outspeed and get that transform. But of course, I know a lot of people are running a slower Ditto because of the Calyrex. Because if you're slower, if you go in the wrong slot, you transform after it gets its Ghost type attack off, and then you can be a Scarfed Calyrex in front of another Calyrex and just take that knockout if it's not a Sash variant. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case for Jack, and it does mean that the Shaymins are taking another step towards their win of the 3rd place playoff and taking that cherished prize of what a lot of us are probably going to be dubbing like the meme win, because it's that week where no one really knows what's going on, and it's just to have fun. Well done for getting to Top Cut.
Indeed, yeah. So, but it's good to see some of these like more serious, more up-to-date formats being played here, and a bit of a taste of what has been going on in the last few weeks of the entire season of UKITT. So, because I think a lot of these Pokemon teams have been used or like saved for like certain weeks, like for the semi-finals, and then like once you're playing for the third place playoffs, it's slightly, as you say, it's a little bit less serious now, and so you can kind of like try out stuff that you've been wanting to try for ages, or just something that's really fun. So this is like often where in these third place playoffs we see some of the really creative stuff people have been really thinking about. So and then we had Kyurem White and Dialga, which is really cool.
Yeah, two of the legendary Pokemon from the box arts of the games. So people who are here for the fan service, they're going to enjoy that match. And, hopefully it does encourage people to play more VGC, because it shows that you don't have to use your Zacians or your Kyogres or like your Regulations and all those big things, to have fun. You can play with your favourites, or you can play with your uncanny, fun conventional Pokemon, as Jamie Boyd calls them. And, it just shows that it can all work. And that will be a nice segue to our Game 3 of our third place playoffs, which I believe is a player who really likes their creative Pokemon in Elaric against Full Crimp, who... Honestly, I don't know much from outside of UKITT, but we are seeing they're using two very similar teams coming into this match. So maybe they've met before in the past, or they've followed the same sort of team building guides. And this could look to be a bit of fun. It's going to be another war of attrition with Trick Room. Of course, everyone's favourite, or maybe some people not their favourite, in Ferrothorn with its nice body press iron defense sets, and then Rhyperior, the god of Series 2 and 3. Because of how strong and bulky it is. Yeah,
exactly. So as you've noticed, it does say VGC 2020. This is, I believe, a Series 3 match that is being played here. As with throughout all of the UKITT seasons, we always allow some of the matches of each week to be these wildcard formats where you can choose historic formats that have been previously played. We go all the way back to usually about 2016 is usually the earliest format we go back to. So any of the VGC formats that you want to pick, as long as your opponent can agree to it, especially in this, then they're up for it. So Season 3 has been the choice for these two players. And what a way to define it than just Dusclops, Rhyperior, Trick Room.
Yeah, and of course Togekiss as well.
And of course Togekiss, yes.
Obviously, if all these players are pulling out all their guns in this match, of course, I'm personally rooting for Elaric. I know we've got to keep a bias, but Elaric is local to me. He's been a good friend, but he knows his Trick Room teams. We call him like the Trick Room god, Trick Room abuser. Every season he's found a way to make Trick Room work. As we see the iconic Trick Room team, Trick Room lead, of 2020 in the Hatterene plus the Indeedee against an Incineroar, which isn't faking out anything because of Psychic Terrain. It can't even Parting Shot unless it's going into that Indeedee, because if it decides to Parting Shot into Hatterene, it's going to bounce back. Hatterene will switch out, but Incineroar's losing its stats. And Togekiss, it could be flinching things, it could be doing crits on things. Let's have to find out what it's going to be doing in these next turns.
Yeah, Full Crimp's lead is quite nice. It's kind of a nice all-rounder stop stuff happening. Especially that Togekiss is the Yawn variant that we sometimes see into like the Indeedee. It's really nice. It just ends up just slowing down any Trick Room attempts here. And yeah, the thing you mentioned about the Parting Shot, it's actually a good way to stop Trick Room if it is a Hatterene. So let's see what happens this turn.
Yeah, I'll see how it all happens. Oh, there we go. As we jump in, Hatterene going big, so it's not going to be having any Trick Room fails. Follow me, not taking any Parting Shots, any misses. Air Slash into the Indeedee there. A Taunt into Indeedee as well, so no more Follow Me's after that. And the G-Max Smite into Incineroar, it just lives, but there is going to be confusion across the field, and that could be bad news, whatever happens. As we see, Rhyperior coming in, normally happy in Trick Room, as we see Togekiss itself as confusion there. So
yeah, so kind of into there, I'm getting flashbacks to Hatterene Smite confusions and just ruining completely my day. But it's having Indeedee taunted there is pretty big for Full Crimp, because if Incineroar's able to get through the confusion here and get the Parting Shot off, then Hatterene has to switch out, which is huge, and then negates the next two turns of its Dynamax. And no Trick Room either here, and we've seen Rhyperior come in, and that doesn't like facing down other Pokemon where it's not in Trick Room, and Full Crimp's Venusaur is in the back. It's looking really nice for him.
Yeah, it's looking absolutely amazing if it can get into a situation where it's not in Trick Room in front of the
there it is,
and the Magic Round, possibly not knowing the mechanics, or possibly just wanting to get rid of the Hatterene there. And then we'll see the Indeedee come in, but it's leaving Rhyperior to just Rock Slide or Earthquake on things. See a Follow Me come out. Confusion ending, luckily for that Togekiss. The Yawn going to Indeedee, so again being stopped from Follow Me's potentially. A Rock Slide, super effective with that Togekiss to show how much it can do. Will we see a flinch? We won't. There's a switch in, and of course Incineroar coming back in, just wanting to get those stat drops, but then Rhyperior going big like it always does. A Safeguard coming out from Indeedee, so no burns or anything. Rock Slide, gotta knock out the Incineroar. And then of course that's his Rhyperior to Max Quake. The crit into the Indeedee, getting rid of it. And yet that is out for the rest of the game. And it's going to go itself a nice special defense boost. So that Hatterene isn't going to do much to it. A Solar Beam from Torkoal won't do much to it either, and might activate Weakness Policy.
Indeed, yeah. I would imagine the Quake probably didn't matter, depending on the bulk of the Indeedee. Some of them may be like full defense, some of them are full special defense, depending on what kind of things it wants to live. Often dark moves of Incineroar, or just a big max move from something like a Rhyperior. But either way, it does now go down, and Rhyperior is stuck in here at -1 attack, which is not great for Rick. So this has got the weakness policy and it ends up getting activated, maybe by the opposing Quake. It's not going to be doing a lot of damage now. And Fulcrum gets to bring in maybe a Togekiss and maybe even a Venusaur that could still be in the back here. So he's definitely in the driver's seat here, and Eliric's given up his Dynamax too from that Hatterene earlier on.
Yeah, and that is a shame because, you know, a lot of these teams in Trick Room rely on getting your Trick Room up or having your Dynamax Pokemon sweep, as the Hatterene does come in here, but, you know, Trick Room isn't going to be a big option because of how these Pokemon work. The Psychic just full out knocking out the Torkoal.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, the Life Orb being revealed, and then the Max Quake going to just knock out in return. So a back and forth 1-for-1 here as the opposing Rhyperior goes for the high horsepower, going to activate a weakness policy, you know, attack drop, you know, it's going to do some diligence here. You'll see another Torkoal come in, and the Togekiss coming back. You know, Torkoal doesn't look very happy in front of this Rhyperior. Could we see an Air Slash flinch? We see a Rock Slide Mister, unfortunately. And we're going to see the Max Quake come off, get a knockout, and then this is Bad News Bears for the Rhyperior, as we could just see Max Quakes coming out in return, especially high horsepower actually, because of that attack boost. Air Slash, trying to get those flinches. You know, you hate to see them. There it is. Togekiss doing what Togekiss does best. High horsepower, just grabs that knockout, taking the first game in favor of Full Crimp.
Yeah, like Full Crimp was just using Rhyperior exactly how it should be used. Really, it's what makes it such a great Pokemon is that it has fantastic stats, maybe apart from its special defense, but that can be patched up by Max Quakes and Max Rockfall when the Sandstorm is then set. So apart from Eliric's own Rhyperior, he really had nothing to really hit the opposing Rhyperior in this game. Maybe the Solar Beam on the Torkoal if it got going, but it just wasn't in that right position, and the Rhyperior had already got so much boost up like from its previous Quakes, and on top of that Solid Rock too to really take the hits better as well. So I feel like it was probably going to see a little bit of a different lead from Eliric there. Maybe not so much going with the Hatterene this time because of that parting shot threat, especially combined with the Taunt too, which is often not commonly seen. So I think now Eliric knows that. I think he's going to have a very different game plan for Game 2.
Yeah, he's going to have to adapt it really well. Maybe not opting to go for the Trick Room mode straight away. Maybe just opting to go for like maybe Torkoal, Follow Me, get some nice eruptions off. You know, because of course Full Crimp has to rely on getting something like a Rhyperior in to get those spread moves off. And if that's not in straight away, that eruption is going to do a lot of damage in the sun if Torkoal's left untouched. Even if not, Solar Beam is going to be a nice chunk of damage into that Rhyperior if it's not bulky enough. We'll have to see, you know, if that is something that's brought into mind of Eliric. I know they're very good at their Trick Room teams. Maybe they know the mirror, maybe they don't. We'll have to see, you know, what sort of adaptations they make as we come into this Game 2 of our third game here of the playoffs.
Yes, indeed. So, second Game 2 now, and we've obviously got a Trick Room mirror is often very awkward because you've probably got a lot of speed ties. The Torkoal, Rhyperior, and the Dusclops are probably all minimum speed. So they are like all just jostling to try and get that attack off first, which makes things a bit awkward. It hasn't really happened in that Game 1 because I think different Pokemon are on the field at different times, and the Rhyperior face-off that we had wasn't too significant either because it was just one Rhyperior that could get ignored thanks to its minus attack and couldn't Dynamax versus one that was just completely boosted. So that didn't come into play too much, but we might see it happen here, especially if Eliric maybe leaves the Hatterene at home, brings something maybe like the Ferrothorn to hit the Rhyperior a little bit harder with, then we may see a little bit more of a similar speed matchup.
Yeah, of course, he could bring the Dusclops as well because that isn't going to be switched out by the parting shot, and it can't be fake outed. It's relying on a Taunt there from the Incineroar to, you know, to get it shut down. But, you know, a nice little Follow Me will stop that Taunt, and, you know, this might be something Richard learns about going into Game 2. As we see.
But does Elliot want the Trick Room more than full crimp is the question. You could argue yes because of that Venusaur that we've just seen though.
Yeah, and of course the Dusclops does come in alongside Hatterene, so both of them have the option to Trick Room here. You know, Elric possibly predicting, you know, a Dusclops on the other side, maybe going to be like, okay, you reverse my Trick Room, I'll reverse your Trick Room, then Trick Room everywhere. I've had that so many times in my games before, and it's not fun having to predict every turn of, right, when are they going to stop stopping the Trick Room, so when do I stop stopping the Trick Room? And, you know, in this situation with two of the faster Pokemon on Full Crimp's team, going for a Trick Room is a very nice play, because something can go to sleep and something can be slept. So that is something that we're going to have to really respect here on the field. And, you know, Hatterene is going to bounce back that sleep, so that can't be slept, so that's going to be possibly a fake-out target. And then we're just going to see the Dusclops getting slept powdered here, if that is the play that Full Crimp goes for.
Yeah, you could just the parting shot plus sleep powder from Full Crimp. As long as that hits, it's pretty safe. But the ally switch, very cool.
Very cool.
So that may help out Elric this turn.
Yeah, of course, the bouncing back, the parting shot going to allow the Incineroar to switch out. But, you know, no Trick Room that turn, and we can't keep seeing the, you know, ally switches, nor can we keep seeing Trick Room, so it risks it. Trick Room goes off there from the Hatterene, of course, and then we're going to see the Rhyperior come in, the Incineroar come in, Rhyperior stats drop straight away, Hatterene going big and threatens both these Pokemon with big damage, Nightshade doing a little bit of chip damage to Rhyperior, getting it low health, and Max Phantasm though getting that knockout, the critical hit on to the Dusclops. Was that a roll from the crit, or is that a calc that Richard knew and was just hoping would go through, no ally switches or any other shenanigans?
I've got to say, I think that the crit probably does matter. Dusclops is such a bulky Pokemon, even if you're like a physically bulky Dusclops. But I don't know, Hatterene is very strong, and you don't often see the Phantasm. If this is a third attack, it's often the Mystical Fire and the Max Flare coming off instead, so very cool. And that puts Incineroar at -1 defense, and that's pretty good for the Rhyperior that's sitting here right now as well. So Hatterene is now actually in the position it wants, where it can get off attacks before Incineroar is able to parting shot it, and that Rhyperior will be able to cover for any damage or any knockouts that Hatterene is not able to get this turn.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that is the play that is capitalized and chosen for by Full Crimp. But Elric, as you said, has this upper hand for sure. You know, Rock Slide is going to be super effective into both these Pokemon, so any chip damage will be really nice. Follow Me, not really going to matter, you know, with Rock Slide coming out, doing loads of damage, even if that attack drop is showing how powerful the Rhyperior is. Chimmychar Smite is going to get the Togekiss.
Flinch and confusion this turn for Incin. Is it going to get it through?
You see, and it isn't. You hate to see it in VGC, but just lucky there's no paralysis, because we'd have been here for days trying to find out what was going to happen. Venusaur going big, only Dynamax, so there's no G-Max in this format. Rhyperior getting a knockout on the Incineroar, and you know we see a Max Psychic, it's just going to grab that knockout. So Elric really playing his cards right, getting the changes he needs, and knowing, you know, I've got to bluff the Trick Room to defeat the Trick Room.
Yeah, and he absolutely turned it around there, Connor. Yeah, like the turn one play just from there, like, just changed everything up. I think Full Crimp maybe didn't expect the ally switch, and yeah, and as we saw it just completely turned it around. And Hatterene, even when it didn't start on the field, Elric did a really good job of positioning it safely, getting it in the right position to be able to do exactly what it wanted. And even though it was kind of hacks at the end there for Incin to like flinch or whatever, it was confusion and flinching at the same time. And I don't know if somebody else can probably run the calcs there, but it was probably roughly like a 50% chance for it to actually move at all.
Yeah, and that's the shame that we have. You know, VGC often has its hacks. You know, some people love that we have hacks because it adds a bit of flair, a bit of excitement to the game. Some people get very vocal about it at times. And, you know, it's just one of those things that makes Pokemon a very unique esport, if you want to call it that, because it adds that hype, that luck to it, you know. Am I going to pull through the flinch? Am I going to pull through the paralysis? Am I going to wake up on turn 1, turn 2? You know, everything going through your head, you know, it makes a good player, you know, knowing, you know, when to keep calm about hacks and when to know when to proceed afterwards. And hopefully these players are going to keep a high head. You know, Richard's not going to be too up on himself. He got that game back. And hopefully Full Crimp isn't too down because they lost a game because of that hacks. And we'll have to see as we jump over to our game 3. And this could be one of the deciding matches for who wins our third place playoff, as we have got obviously the Trick Room, the Dusclops Hatterene setup Trick Room in front of just a Dusclops by itself. Follow Me options, the Sun, the full shebang. And we'll jump straight into this, seeing which players have opted to go for.
Yeah, let's get straight in. So, I wonder if Elric will actually go for the same lead this time, because it was kind of like a bit of a cheesy reveal of ally switch to kind of get that off this time. And whereas if he tries to lead the same, it's a bit of a 50-50 if full crimp leads the same. So yeah, he does switch it up for game 3, which I'm not too surprised to see. Something that's going to probably guarantee the Trick Room, whatever happens.
Yeah, of course, the Psychic going out into Rhyperior this turn, not wanting to opt for any Trick Rooms, maybe just hoping for a Rock Slide, so a very high chance of flinch here, and it might just come through. It does come through. Togekiss Rhyperior doing lovely stuff there, getting flinches off. Incineroar now comes in, offers Taunt on the field as well, because it's not a Prankster Taunt, so it's going to go through, and Follow Me isn't going to stop that Rock Slide. Knocks out the Indeedee, and we could see another flinch, and 2 flinches in a row. I'm ever so sorry, Richard, as the Rhyperior comes in here. So, Rhyperior, you know, not in Trick Room, but is super effective against both these Pokemon with no attack drops. Just got to hope that there's no more flinches.
Yes, exactly. And even the Trick Room's not up this turn, so Full Crimp's fully able to just go for the Taunt straight into Rhyperior this turn. Into Dusclops. But Elric may see that coming this time and may just go straight for the Bulldoze if he's got it on, and just get this Rhyperior going, because versus what Full Crimp has, it's looking pretty good at the moment. But if he does have that Venusaur in the back this time, like last time, Full Crimp's just going to deny the Trick Room and just wait for that free switch into Venusaur, and Rhyperior could just be going straight down. Yeah,
Rhyperior going down is going to be very rough. We could see Rhyperior going big, trying to just guarantee a knockout one of these Pokemon. A Max Quake into Incineroar would be lovely to get, knockout and some nice special defense boost, but Togekiss is sitting there and telling you, if you got a special defense boost, you got to get your natural one off of the rock type effects of Sandstorm. So have to see how they adapt to that. With there is a Rhyperior going big, so we did call that very well. The reverse commentator's curse, parting shot, because Trick Room isn't up, is going to be a bit of a shame. As you see Dusclops coming in, so Trick Room can reverse straight away, and we see the Max Rockfall go off. So calling a Follow Me, but not getting it. And then we're going to do a bit of damage there. Trick Room goes off, but now Togekiss has an opportunity to, switch out again to Incineroar. Get some stat drops. Dusclops reverse the Trick Room. We do see that. Are we going to see a Trick Room reversed because of the threat? No, it's just a Nightshade. Doesn't get the knockout, but it is going to get it because of the hail. Bulldoze, though, is going to get the weakness posse off, revealing a Shocker Bear on Incineroar. So we're going to see what damage comes through. If we see a Max Quake, a Max Rockfall, it's going to do a lot. How is this going to grab a knockout at the stab? It is going to grab the stab just at that neutral, and it's another upper hand for Richard there. The hail unfortunately chips down and grabs a knockout on his own Dusclops.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see no Taunt coming out from the Incineroar earlier on by Full Crimp there to stop the Trick Room, because Elric's got exactly what he wants with his Rhyperior now, and he's got the Spadef boost from the Sandstorm. He can get another one if he Quakes into another slot, so he's going to be able to take some Venusaur hits basically, and Incineroar's not there anymore to be able to lower its attack. So I think it's on Elric now to make the most of the Trick Room turns if he can, but and whether he can take out this Dusclops depending on what he's got in the back. If it's that Hatterene, Dazzling Gleam plus another attack from Rhyperior is likely able to knock it out. But if on Full Crimp Center, if he's got that slow Dusclops now, if it's got that Will-O-Wisp, that's probably going to be the main thing that'll turn it around for him.
Yeah, I have to see. And it could have Haze as well to get rid of any stat boosts there are.
True.
And it was quite unexplored for most of the meta because it meant you got rid of your own stat boost, especially on a Trick Room team. Rhyperior on the opposing side for Full Crimp does go big. A lot more Dynamax turns. The Max Quake, the Bulldoze, coming off, got there in the end. It's going to make Elric's Rhyperior even slower. The Max Quake just misses the knockout.
Not quite.
But are we going to see if the Hatterene's faster? It's not, but it is avoided. And it's going to live for Richard. So Hatterene could grab a knockout with a Psychic. It does just get it because of the Psychic terrain.
Okay.
And that is, another upper hand and a step in the right direction for Richard. As I do believe it's Togekiss coming in. And Dazzling Gleam is looking really tasty here on this side of the field.
It is, but Rhyperior is in range of a Nightshade here. So it's likely going to go down this turn. And then it's just Hatterene versus these two. And I don't know if it's going to be enough. It's got the special defense boost from against Togekiss, but once Trick Room's stalled out, Togekiss can just go for Air Slash flinches.
Yeah, and Air Slash flinches is something that, we're going to hate for Richard, because he's had such an upper hand in all this game, calling the Trick Rooms right, getting some nice lives there. But, Ally Switch and Air Slash, 2 A's we hate to hear in VGC, are they going to come out here? We'll have to see. As you pull in for this, protecting Togekiss, Nightshade going out, getting rid of the Rhyperior. So it's going to be as Hatterene versus the world, psychicking it into the Togekiss. You know, with that special defense boost, it has a bit of a chance to stay around, but with 2 Pokemon targeting it, it's going to be very hard. Pain Split, going to get some nice health back on the Dusclips. I think this might be going in Fulcrum's favour as Togekiss lives that hit, even from how strong it is. Air Slash, going to just get it as Trick Room ends, and Togekiss...
Air Slash can miss. Or not KO.
Not KO.
But then Fulcrum, I guess, still has the Nightshade, so yeah. So that is game. Wow, okay, so very interesting set that time. A really close down onto that game 3. It seemed like Eric really had the driver's seat position there with Rhyperior really early on. But as we saw, Fulcrum was able to really stall it out quite nicely. Even without the Venusaur at the end, he was just able to neuter its attack and then just take it out towards the end when he needed it to. I don't know what more could be said, really. I think it sounds like Fulcrum's team worked a little bit better outside of the Trick Room, thanks to that Togekiss, the Incineroar, and the Venusaur. So, whereas Elric needed the Trick Room up all the time to make use of it, Fulcrum also had those tools to kind of work within it at the same time. So, it maybe came down to a little bit of a team match-up there.
Yeah, and like you said, the speed came out on top. Even with Trick Room on the field, you know, the speedy Pokemon had that little bit of bulk to just keep switching out. Incineroar with Intimidate, in, out, you know, and it was just gonna, you know, always had that step ahead. And Rhyperior, unfortunately, going down to some attacks that weren't the strongest, but you know, because of the stat drops, because of everything that was going on, it wasn't getting damage up it needed. And Richard, you know, again, as you said, relying on that Trick Room meant that he had to be in the right position to get Trick Room up. Whereas on Fulcrum's side, he had the ability to go for a fast setup with the Air Slash Brockside flinches. He had Taunt to stop Trick Room. He had Parting Shot to stop Trick Room. So he had every card in the deck to stop it from happening. And then, you know, all of the shuffles came right, you know, and the hacks was there for him. And, you know, they just had fun. And we'll just pass you over to our hostess, Samantha, as she will go over the rest of the results from the games that we have missed, because we only did 3 of the top 3 games, to see who won in the end. And, you know, who got that glory of the meme kings, meme queens, meme anythings in that top cut place.
What a third place playoff that was. And seeing the Sinnoh Shamans take third place overall will complete that set. Yeah. We're going to go over to a quick break in a minute, just so the casters and everyone involved can just get a water break, stretch our legs, and we will be back with the big final against the Spiritombs and the Mumatons, which will be very exciting. So I believe in just a moment we will be right back. Goodbye. Hello everybody, welcome back to UKITT. We are now live for the final game of this season against the Spiritombs and the Moomatons. And it will be very exciting to see who's going to take the crown this season. I'm going to throw us over straight to the caster's desk for the action with Blazy and David.
Welcome back, everybody. Great to have you here again. And we've got Robbie, aka Blazy, right with us here today. Thank you so much for coming over.
It's a pleasure. I'm having a great time. I have asserted Torchic dominance upon the set here, and that's honestly, that's all I care about. Whichever team wins or loses, nothing to me. We have Torchic supremacy here on the desk, and that's it. I'm just happy.
That's enough of a contribution, Robbie, to be fair. Like, you could probably leave in that. We'd
that's
be
all
like,
I needed to do.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. So, we've got a hell of a final going up here, because as we've already said, from the semi-finals, it was really close as to which two teams came through. So now with the Spikeman Spiritombs and the Moomutons now here in the final, I know. We've actually got our first game, the two team captains up against each other for our first game, Mort and Lord Voltaire, and here they are. So we've got Mort on the opposing side for the Spikeman Spiritombs and Lord Voltaire on our side here. So Mort is 2-2 throughout UKITT in this season, but obviously he's been very busy piloting a really successful team as they have like easily guaranteed themselves into the top cut after the normal season. So it just to show what a great player he is. And Lord Voltaire, Donald, is 3-1 coming into this, so he's got a slightly better record into this top cut here, and also kind of similar teams having been played from last time as well. So looking at what we've got up here, Robbie, we've got a Zashin Groudon for Mort, which I think is what he ran in the semi-finals.
Yep.
And for Lord Voltaire, he's got Zashin and Yveltal, which is a little bit of a switch up from last time. What are you thinking when you see these?
Well, I'm thinking we're going to see probably very classic setups from both of these Grimmsnarls coming in with the light screen and reflect combination. That Zashin there on both teams with basically just there as a anti-Dynamax. You know, you got that Behemoth Blade, just absolutely decimates. I think as a starting lineup from Mort, we might possibly see Incineroar Grimmsnarl. This is something that he was running earlier on, I believe. But we could also see this Groudon starting on that Desolate Land. Just can do so much to swing in Mort's favor. I think on the other side, we'll probably see, again, the Grimmsnarl is just such a strong lead. We've been seeing it so much this season that it would be completely unconventional to not lead with this Grimmsnarl, right? So I think we'll probably see the Grimmsnarl coming out first here from Wooloo Prime, and I'm kind of leaning towards this Yveltal. I think it's a spicy pick, and I think putting it up there right at the front might be a really, really interesting way to lead off.
I think so too, especially as you've got those airstreams that can really pick up the speed for the rest of the team. So anyway, let's get into this game one of our final set. The two team captains up right against each other. So here we go. The leads coming out here.
There's the Grimmsnarl, and it's going to be the Landorus, man. Do I get the other one right? No, not even a little bit. Zacian's going to come out, and it's going to be the Incineroar. So I was right about Grimmsnarl for Wooloo. I was right about Incineroar for Mort. I was not predicting Zacian or Landorus to be here in the first rotation.
No, same. Grimmsnarl, though, is a great call, though, because on either end, if you want to set up screens, the best time to do that is right at the start to make the most of it. Interestingly, on Donald's end, Yveltal actually doesn't hit a lot super effectively on Mort's end, and there's two Dark types and the Zacian that also resist it. So I'm not surprised maybe to see it in the back or even at all this game. But Mort leading with that Zacian does get hit up by that Intimidate, so it's not going to be doing a lot of damage straight off here. And Landorus often goes for the Dynamax, so we may see that. But if it's a Swords Dance set, which would be really cool, that would be something that really turns the tables around if Mort doesn't go for the fake out from Sinsin.
If it's not a Swords Dance set, or even if it is even, I think it's even worse, right? Incineroar coming in, already hitting both of these Pokemon with the Intimidate proc. So let's see how this next round plays out with Zacian going into this Protect, clearly predicting some form of damage from the Landorus. If we're expecting Landorus to potentially go into that Sword Stance. It wasn't the Sword Stance. It is actually going to be the Rock Slide instead.
It is. So Instin's going to straight out into the Charizard. So I'm guessing there's that Groudon in the back, which is not coming in just yet. It is that Incineroar coming in for turn 2. And Landorus rightly switching out, being physical. It's got a lot of attack drops now. But Charizard goes straight for the Dynamax. And as the light screen goes up on Donald's end, how much damage is this going to do? Not a lot.
And this is why Grimmsnarl is such a potent lead, right? It doesn't matter that he's already down here at 0.5 times attack because of the double Intimidate proc that Mort's been able to get off. That Reflect and that light screen is going to give this whole team so much coverage and so much damage reduction that even Gigantamax Charizard could barely put a dent in Yveltal here. And it's going to be about what the rebuttal is going to be from Wooloo, right? Grimmsnarl now has an opportunity to attack. We don't know if this is a specially offensive Grimmsnarl or a physically offensive one, but hopefully for Wooloo, he's got potentially a Dazzling Gleam or some sort of Fairy type move to hit this Incineroar with. I think maybe we leave the Charizard alone, just let the Gigantamax peter out.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan because it's only going to be a much more of a threat once that Sun comes in. But Yveltal is a great switch in here. It's likely that Assault Vest set based on how well it took that, which is probably the item of choice most Yveltals will go for because you want to run 4 attacks. You want to run that Snarl, Oblivion Wing, maybe a Dark Pulse, and then also the Sucker Punch too. So it thrives really well in this environment right now. And we may even see the Dynamax to even take even less damage and start getting some Airstreams and to counteract this Charizard here. But yeah, as you say, Donald's done a nice job of like stalling out at least one turn of this Charizard's Dynamax.
Well, let's have a look. That Wild Flame obviously going to do some damage to both of these players. It's going to be the Thunder Wave from Grimmsnarl, so more utility coming out here and getting
the Lumberry then on top of that.
He absolutely called it, yeah. Well, ignore me then. A really well countered play there from Mort. I'm imagining we'll see another attempt at that Thunder Wave here from Grimmsnarl, but there comes the Groudon coming out in return for the parting shot from Incineroar, and just the stat drops on this local side of the field here. Wooloo Prime needs to get these two out of here.
Exactly. Yeah, it's there's a lot of offense like just facing the board at the moment now. But yeah, like Charizard spent 2 turns now in Dynamax without the Sun, which is like really key for Charizard because with that solar power and its fire type attacks, it really benefits from it, and it's only going to get one more turn where it's going to make the most of that now, and Wooloo Prime's been able to just sit with 2 Pokemon on the field and take no knockouts so far, and with the light screen up too. So he's done a good job at like stalling this out now, but can he now turn it around and dish the damage back?
And that's the question as we move on here. Groudon has just come out. It's not like the old days. We're not going to see this Primal come out and sweep the field, so definitely got that going for him. The switch into Landorus is going to be good. Gets that Intimidate off.
Oh!
But instantly tapped down by Charizard, and the Heavy Slam is going to finish off Grimmsnarl. So we've gone from a very comfortable 0-0 situation where we were just saying how well Wooloo Prime was holding out, and then within one turn he's lost 2 front runners in Grimmsnarl and Landorus. Now the Yveltal is still on the board, and there is still that 4th Pokemon that he can choose from, so we could potentially see either the Rotom or the Gastrodon come out here.
Can. So we do see the Yveltal, and I'm guessing the Zacian. So yeah, we do see the Zacian. So the 2 restrictors have, in fact, arrived. But even though Charizard's got a speed boost, it is now paralyzed. So it is looking down 2 Pokemon that could maybe get the KO here. Charizard's not the bulkiest of Pokemon, but I have seen Charizard take a lot of damage from a Behemoth Blade from Zacian, which it's about to get the +1 attack for here. But with Mort having all 4 Pokemon left, he's able to get his Groudon out, maybe like cancel out the attack drop, get Incineroar in, get a permanent attack drop on Zacian, so it's definitely looking like in his favor already after that huge turn to get that double KO completely out of the blue.
Absolutely, yeah. That Incineroar just coming out, I think, is going to be potentially the beginning of the end for this Wooloo Prime time. This one around, Yveltal is going to go up into that Dynamax form. Incineroar isn't able to be taken out before he gets... Actually, scratch that. The Airstream is going to change that around. So actually...
Oh,
that's a huge dodge.
that's a huge dodge.
Zacian dodging that Blast Button might let Wooloo Prime back into this game now.
Potentially, yeah, because that's definitely a KO thanks to the sun being up for Charizard. So, and like it got through the paralysis. It just needed to hit that 90%, and it has not. So, Mort is now able to bring in his likely Zacian so that he can take out the Yveltal here. But no, he's decided to bring the Groudon actually this turn instead. Possibly wanting to like maybe save the Zacian for the end game versus the other Zacian, maybe get a little bit chip more on it here, but he's definitely still got all the tools, Mort does.
Absolutely, yeah. Zacian's going to go for this Protect here, and we'll see how that pans out for him. I think Charizard's probably going to look to go for that Blast Burn again. The Max Darkness going to come out, do a lot of damage, get that special defense drop as well. And Yveltal still has one more turn of Dynamax here. And just about surviving the Stone Edge and the Blast Burn. So, not necessarily a great Protect there from Zacian. You didn't get any value out of it in the slightest. A really great call from Mort to focus fire on Yveltal here.
Yeah, it was. I'm surprised not to see the Zacian come in earlier, because you would, with Behemoth Blade, you're likely able to pick up that KO outright, because you do double damage to Yveltal through that. But interesting to see the Heavy Slam and the Stone Edge on this Groudon, probably indicating maybe it's an Assault Vest set or something, because normally it's just the fire and the ground moves that you see, but we've seen like a couple of really unusual moves from Mort's Groudon. So definitely a lot of information on both players' ends going into future games. And
it's, sometimes it's important to run that kind of shock value set, right? Like, I guarantee you that Wooloo was not expecting Grimmsnarl to get tapped down by the Heavy Slam, right? It just wasn't... It's not a common move that you see on Groudon in these competitive environments.
Exactly. So let's see how Wooloo makes the most of this alive Zacian now. Let's dodge that Blast Burn. So Airstream goes out into the Groudon, doing a little bit of damage, and of course Charizard has to recharge, doing absolutely nothing this turn. Yveltal does manage to go down here. But it is just Zacian versus 3 Pokemon now. And
either way you split it, it's going to be a hard choice. Zacian does choose to go for the Groudon, deeming it more likely for Groudon to connect that hit. And if the gamble pays off, Charizard is stunned out by that paralysis. Now we've got a Zacian and a Zacian, and this Charizard is out. Now Zacian on Mort's team does have the attack boost that was completely cancelled out by Incineroar coming over earlier, right? Mm-hmm. But on the flip side of that, our Zacian here on Wooloo Prime side does have that speed up.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of... okay. Here's the likely gambit. Wooloo Prime has to go for Zacian here, right? Just based on the fact that Charizard has a pretty decent chance to not connect. If he's using that Blast Burn, that's 90% chance if he gets through the paralysis. Yeah. But he has to one-shot the enemy Zacian, otherwise the game's all over. So that's what we're hinging on right now, David.
Yeah, like, if it is like a not very bulky, like quite frail Zacian with just attacking speed on Wooloo's end, then it could just drop to the opposing Zacian's Behemoth Blade. If it's got a little bit of bulk, it should be able to live this incoming hit, and Wooloo can get off 2 Behemoth Blades, which should also still KO a Zacian, even though you're not but +1. So, assuming Charizard doesn't move for 2 turns, Donald can win this.
Absolutely. It's 100% winnable, but it's all about what happens here. Not able to tap it down with the 1 Behemoth Blade. There's going to be the countered hit. Now the Charizard is able to connect to that Blast Burn, and unfortunately Wooloo takes the L there. But it was a very close game, all things considered, from that start. There was a really real comeback potential there from Voltaire.
Exactly, and even though we saw like he was kind of like 4-4 up and like not losing anything to that Charizard, it was that like that Sun double KO, and suddenly you have no switching potential. Zacian can't switch out from an attack drop. Yveltal can't switch into something like Grimmsnarl to take a better hit. Just that lack of dynamic ability for your team really seemed to hurt Donald right in that end game there. And even though we saw the Blast Burn miss a couple of times on Mort's end, I can imagine that frustration. He was still able to pull it off. So it was a really well played game, and with a cool Groudon set too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just completely unexpected. If I'm honest with you, I'm not sure we'll see Groudon come out again in this game, and we'll see it now as we get ready to hop into game number 2. But this Groudon, it very well could just be Flash Pan excitement, and we could see now Mort choose to go towards the Grimmsnarl or towards the Gastrodon instead, now that this Groudon's kind of been sussed out.
Indeed, yeah. However, you also got the Groudon that is the only way to get the Sun Source for its Charizard, which seems to be the main Dynamax target here. Because if you're not Dynamaxing that, then maybe it's the Groudon itself or the Gastrodon. And there's no Water types on Donald's End, so but it's still a really nice Pokemon to bring here. Like I can't see any Grass type attacks on Donald's End, so or either end, unless the Charizard has the Solar Beam. So Gastrodon could actually be a really nice pick here. Now you're saying it, because it's not going to take much damage from a lot of Donald's team.
Yeah, and has that recover in basically every single set. There's a very real chance that it could be a strong start. And we're going to see the same start from Mort's side, and it is going to be the Gastrodon this time around from Wooloo as well here. So Voltaire choosing to go into that Gastrodon this time around. As you said, there isn't really a lot of Grass type potential, unless that Charizard does have it on Solar Beam.
Mm-hmm. And the other cool thing that is very rarely seen, but Zacian can learn Solar Blade, the physical variant of Solar Beam.
Interesting.
So, yes, and I have seen it on the occasional team, and I don't know whether we've seen all the movesets yet of Mort Zacian, but if it is running that, then that would be a huge play in this game particularly.
Well, let's have a look. I'm like,
yeah.
You know what? I see that so rarely. I forgot that was even a possibility. But before Grimstar was able to get both of the screens up, Zacian taps it down. The Behemoth Blade is going to secure that one hit, and already down one Pokemon is Wooloo Prime. Yveltal is going to come out into the situation, but this is not a good start.
No. I mean, Grimmsnarl's able to get the Reflect up, and then what is quite a passive Pokemon is now off the field. So Wooloo's now in a position to kind of go on the offensive this time, with that, knowing it's got that defense from the Reflect here. But on Mort's end, it's probably quite unlikely. Switch out Zacian to stop the drowsiness, into the Groudon, boost the Charizard, and then for Charizard to just go right on the offensive. And if it's got that Solar Beam itself with the Max Overgrowth, it has an answer for Gastrodon very nicely here. And it's going to be able to take a hit or two from Yveltal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, and just as you said, Groudon's going to come out. There's the Drought. I'm expecting the Gigantamax straight away here from Charizard. Predicting that, though, the switch into Zacian could be really good. If you can get this Behemoth Blade on first, Charizard opting to go for that Max Airstream instead of the G-Flame. So that could be huge here. If we can get the Behemoth Blade off onto Charizard, we could see a turnaround, but that move, it's... Correct me if I'm wrong here, it's a fighting type move, Behemoth Blade.
No, Steel type.
It's a Steel type. Well, it presents the same issue here, right?
Yeah.
That fire is still going to have resistance against the damage. So even though this move is particularly potent against those Giganta or Dynamax Pokemon, I'm not sure we're going to be able to see Charizard go down in this first turn.
No.
Because even with help from Gastrodon, this is not an offensive Pokemon.
It's not, no. And I think Wooloo really needs to go for maybe a Yawn into the Charizard there. Because now Charizard has that Airstream, there's nothing stopping it now. It outspeeds the Zacian, and probably through Protect, it will probably destroy it with a Fire-type move. Mort's in a really strong position now with that speed boost, and there's not a lot in the back stopping it, now that there's been no Yawn into that slot either. And because we know the Charizard is Lumberry, actually, the Yawn wouldn't even be that effective either.
Yeah.
Mort's just in a really solid position, and it's got the exact type matchup it wants going for here, and no Water moves from Gastrodon's going to do much to it because the sun's up.
Yeah, so... Let's see how this plays out. There are still plenty of opportunities for Wooloo to come back here, and the Max Airstream actually going to come out, I'm assuming predicting the Protect here from Zacian, or actually potentially just setting up for the double kill with Precipice Blade. Zacian survives here 1%. Behemoth Blade does do a lot more than I was expecting, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a decent amount of damage. I mean, Charizard's not a very bulky Pokemon. It's probably max speed, max special attack there. And Zacian is just really strong doing that double damage thanks to the Behemoth Blade. But yeah, a really big live, and especially if Yveltal maybe has Sucker Punch, then it might just be in range. So as we can see, Grimmsnarl is kind of putting in the work, having put up that Reflect, allowing Zacian to live that Precipice Blades.
So we'll see if Yveltal is able to pull out potentially a Sucker Punch or even just anything here. It goes into the Dynamax form, so no Sucker Punch going to be available to it here. It's going to take a little bit of passive damage from that Wildfire. Fire Punch from Groudon, not really going to do anything at all. And the Darkness should... actually opting to go for Groudon here, getting that special defense drop onto both of them. But now we're going to be seeing the final Pokemon from Wooloo. I'm going to predict potentially the Landorus might be... Actually, no, scratch that. I'm wrong. It's just Yveltal left on the field.
Yeah, so it's just Yveltal versus the world now. And unfortunately, Yveltal goes for the Airstream there just as Charizard goes for a Blast Burn, where it would have been a dead slot next turn. Wooloo then gets the KO on it now, rather than like trying to take down the Groudon where the Charizard would have been a dead slot. So it's looking pretty rough though, because that's only his first KO, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the Wildfire does 2 more turns, and that's enough on its own to take out this Yveltal after 2 turns.
I think it's easy enough to call this one game. Mort put up a just phenomenal set of games here up against the leader of the Spiritombs. Voltaire not quite able to... Sorry. Mort putting up a very good offensive against the
The Moomutons.
The Moomoomoos.
Yes, the Moomutons.
The sheep people. The
Yes.
sheeple.
Yeah, Donald himself made that name,
up.
so we can blame him then. So, and a fantastic set showing from Mort there, showing how Charizard, everyone's fan favorite, did so much work in that game. It just has a really nice typing, and anything with Airstream is a threat, right? Because it means that you can outspeed, no matter what the power of the opponent is. If you outspeed it and KO it, doesn't matter how much power it's got. And that's what we saw here. And in combination with the Groudon, which normally on a Groudon team you might Dynamax the Groudon. Because you can get off those max quakes, which is your special defense, which is maybe slightly a little bit lower. It's just an excellent attack, but actually Groudon providing that support of that switching pressure to get in the sun, and the fire plus the ground coverage just hits everything really nicely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which we saw really well, and so that's our battle of the captains there.
And yeah, and it did go the way of Mort. So Spiritombs potentially coming off of a morale high here after, they've just had a very, very strong showing against the Shamans earlier on. Coming into this part of the set, they're looking good, they're feeling good. And we didn't necessarily see the semifinals from the Sheeple, which is what I'm going to call them because I refuse to call them whatever the other name is that I'm not even going to attempt. But the Sheeple, we weren't able to see their semifinals, but, even if they were to come in with that large momentum, having that first match be, I think we can say pretty heavily one-sided, right? Mort really handed it to Voltaire.
He did, and Voltaire also, Yveltal probably didn't have the greatest matchup there either. He wasn't super effective versus anything on Mort's team, and he brought it both games. And I could see why, you're restricted, it's really bulky, but he was using it as its max Pokemon just to go for Airstreams and giving Airstream boost and Speed boost stuff that, didn't even, need it in the end.
For sure.
So, I think Mort definitely had the team matchup there, as you're saying. And we've got him in the chat as well, Mort, saying he had Landorus game 1, and, and it would have been good for him to have it game 2 there too, because it offers, if it's got that rock move, which we know it has from the rock slide in game 1, it would have been such a much better option going into Charizard there. So maybe that was the play that Mort's saying there, and even on his end, it sounds like he was probably scared of him bringing it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's one of those things. It happens. You don't win all of them, right. And Mort really showed a level of, here's the thing, right? I was about to say Mort showed a level of adaptability, but in reality, he knew exactly what strategy he wanted to play, and that is, let's put Charizard front and center, lower everyone's stats with Incineroar, boost up with Solar Power, with Groudon, and then just let the sheeple hang themselves. And that's basically what happened. Mort didn't really need to adjust his strategy in any way, shape, or form, because nothing that the... Moomutons, sheeple, we're going to stick with that. Nothing that they could bring on that side was really able to deal with that Charizard. But, that's all she wrote, really. There's not really too much more to say about the set.
No, it was an excellent game to show, and Mort just sticking with his Zacian Groudon, stuff that he loved last time as well, and it seemed to work, putting him up 3-2 in this UKITT Season 4. So we are ready for our second game of this final set, and let's see who we're going to see here. Okay, a very hype matchup here. So we've got Aura Rayquaza and Arch 11 Heretic. Both these players throughout this season are undefeated. both 5-0. So they had to go against each other in the final. This had to be the match that's going to decide things. Who is the better UKITT player here? Because these are both the two top players in the whole league. So everyone's going to be watching this game to see, right, what's a good team I should be running? How should I be playing it? Because these two players are definitely two to watch. Absolutely,
yeah. When we sat down and we went through the games that we were going to be seeing in this final encounter, I looked at that top two, this matchup that we're seeing right now, and I went, oh, hell yeah. We got the 5-0s coming out here, and both of them bringing some very interesting rosters, We're seeing some familiar staples, like the Zacian, like the Incineroar from Heretic, the Palkia, which is a little less common, but still definitely something that's been run throughout the season. Klefki, though, not a particularly common Pokemon to be seen throughout this season, and equally on Rayquaza, bringing out the it looks like Ordino. It's not Ordino.
Indeedee.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes,
the
indeed.
Distant Galarian cousin of Ordino.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a Pokemon we see commonly at all.
Yeah, so Indeedee is a nice bring, especially with a Kyogre. Like, if you've got Kyogre in a great position with its speed, and the only thing that can stop it is maybe an opposing Rillaboom or something with priority, you switch in Indeedee, get the Psychic Terrain to come up, and then everything's blocking it. Now we've seen Taran use a lot of Kyogre or Rayquaza over the weeks, and I think last week as well he used a Zacian Kyogre team in the semi-finals with a Kingdra to support as well. So obviously he's going for a bit more of a standard build here. You've got like the natural fake out pivoting Rillaboom there, the Grimmsnarl with the screens probably, so less hyper offense than last time. And on Arch 11 Heretics, and yeah, that Palkia as you said, and the Klefki, very Palkia not so much a wild pick, but Klefki definitely.
It's spooky.
It is.
It's a very spooky set of keys. I mean, he's going to jingle jangle over your whole day and potentially ruin it.
I'm terrified.
You should be. You know what? I don't want to keep waiting. We could sit here predicting leads as much as we want, but I just want to see them. I want to see what these two outstanding players are going to lead off with. It's going to be the Grimmsnarl Kyogre here for Rayquaza, and Klefki to start us off down here for Heretic alongside the Palkia. Now, I'm expecting this Klefki to fill that similar role as Grimmsnarl, right? Setting up the walls, being a little bit of a trickster, getting just some more utility moves out, and setting up for Palkia here in the rain.
Yeah, I think Grimmsnarl and Klefki have probably got very similar roles here. Both get screens, both get Thunder Wave, both get Fairy moves, so very similar. But yeah, Klefki being that Steel type is obviously key because it's not going to just drop to a Behemoth Blade.
It's key?
It is key.
I like where you did that.
Thank you very much. And interestingly, Palkia doesn't reveal the pressure ability that it normally has here, so it tells us it's got telepathy, because likely thanks to the Landorus having the Earthquake, so it can just Earthquake next to it and Palkia taking no damage. So we don't know the speed interactions yet between Kyogre and Palkia, but Palkia is a very nice Pokemon to have versus a Kyogre.
Absolutely, and let's just jump straight into it, going straight into a Dynamax form here from Palkia.
Oh!
Palkia using that Imprison. Interesting move, making sure that this Grimmsnarl cannot use any of those reflect screens, but it's not going to matter because it's instantly taken down by the water spout. Oh no!
There's so much to unpack here, Blaze.
What a round!
Okay, let's just see the next Pokemon come in. Alright. Okay, right, so Klefki goes for the Imprison, so it's naturally faster than the Grimmsnarl, both with Prankster. Hopes to imprison the screens that Grimmsnarl usually goes for. But no, yeah, we see the trick. But not an eject button, but an Iron Ball into the Palkia. So it's now going to be always be going last, basically, in this set. And Grimmsnarl gets the Life Orb, but the Life Orb is also on the Kyogre. So that is a big debate as to whether you should be putting a Life Orb on a Pokemon that likes to use a move that depends on its HP stat.
Yeah.
You want to be on full HP to use your Water Spouts, but you're always going to have a less powerful one going to the next turn if you've got a Life Orb. But Taran's using it, so maybe it's going to be good.
Listen, there was a lot of really cool moves there. I don't think either of us was expecting not the trick, the Imprison from Klefki. I think that took us very much both off guard. What an incredible move. The trick, I think, works out, right? Because in reality, Kyogre's only really going to get one full power Water Spout off at the start there, and after that, the drop-off is so severe that you may as well put that life orb on it so you get a little bit more bang for your buck on that next one. Or even then, we could swap to a different move now and have that one be boosted up, right?
Yeah.
Super unfortunate for Heretic losing Klefki on that first turn. Doesn't get any value out of the marvelously ingenious Imprison, right? That's such a clever move to just prevent Grimsnarl, which is such a common lead, and would have no answer to that.
No. And what's something I actually don't know is whether the Iron Ball takes immediate speed effect, because if you trick a lagging tail onto an opposing Pokemon, which always makes the holder go last in a priority bracket, that only ever takes effect on the next turn. Whereas an Iron Ball, I think, halves your speed rather than makes you go last. And I don't know whether that actually has an instant effect, which is why we saw the Kyogre go for its Water Spout first before the Palkia, which is normally a naturally faster Pokemon. And so, thanks to Palkia going last, not getting the special defense boost on the Klefki goes down. So there's so much going on in that turn, and I think we're going to find out probably a little bit more as we play the rest of this match.
Absolutely. Now Zacian's come out to try and get a little bit more out of this. Kyogre going up into that Dynamax form, so is going to end up getting a lot of usage out of that Life Orb with another Max Geyser to instantly demolish Zacian. Palkia going to do the same thing to the Grimmsnarl though, but with 2 down here, it's already Heretic in a bad position. Opts to go into the Landorus despite the inherent disadvantage he's at here against the Kyogre. I'm interested to see what the plan is, because there's no switch available here. There's no bait to try and bring out the Water Spout or the Max Geyser onto a different Pokemon. I'm interested as to, obviously Incineroar would have the same problem, but there is a perfectly decent Tornadus here in the backline.
I mean, yeah, the Thunderous in the back would be nice, but unfortunately, Archetype on Heretic is down to his last 2 Pokemon, so Landorus has to be the only bring here. But Palkia being that telepathy, Heretic can now go for an Earthquake, and if it's max speed, will outspeed this Kyogre because of the speed interactions. But it's probably not going to be a KO, and Palkia we know is now slower thanks to the Iron Ball, so Kyogre's going to get another attack off here. So Landorus has to protect if it's going to live this turn, and then Kyogre's not even being dealt with because it's just so specially bulky and Palkia can't do much back to it. And it could just be protected by the Indeedee, which will just follow me. So it's been a interesting first few turns and likely a quick one.
And there's as you said, there's the follow me. The telepathy saving Palkia and actually doing a lot of damage to both members here, but it is going to cost Landorus his life. He was able to get a lot off though. So I feel like at this point, the Indeedee going down is huge. Palkia, I believe, still has 1 more turn in Dynamax. Never mind, it goes back down here. Only has to deal with 1 more. That's the Zacian, right? This Kyogre potentially might peter itself out. I feel like Palkia can resist a couple hits from Kyogre while that Life Orb does its magic. It's the Zacian that's the scary thing here now.
Yeah. And Zacian is going to be definitely outspeeding this Palkia, and Palkia is not boosting its defense, and it's likely to go down to 2 shots, and that's even with a Zacian without the Play Rough, which some carry, some don't. So I think thanks to the Zacian, Rayquaza probably has this in the bag here, as long as it can land its attacks. We may see a Play Rough attempt, and then potentially potentially a miss, but we see the Protect, and there is a Play Rough, so there is a potential for a way out here.
Max Lightning coming through now from the Kyogre, and as we said, Palkia super bulky, got 2 times special defense there. Kyogre at this point is a moot point, right? Kyogre does nothing in this situation. The scratch that, actually 29% on a Thunder?
It's something.
That is definitely something the Zacian can look to take advantage of here. And with that Sacred Sword coming out doing 53%, that's going to be all she wrote. Game number 1 now between Heretic and Rayquaza is going to conclude in Rayquaza being in a 1-point lead. And that...
Yeah.
is exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah, we've had some very slow-paced games recently, and that was just so right. You send out Kyogre.
The first round.
Yeah, it just destroys everything. Which is something that you don't often see, and even versus a Palkia team. So as we can see, just Rayquaza just like ignored the Palkia and let Kyogre kill everything next to it, and have then just deal with it in the end game, because he knows that he's got the play rough on his Zacian, which is a really key move to be using versus Palkia. And Palkia is probably Kyogre's worst nightmare, because it does hardly anything with its water moves.
For sure.
So if you've got play rough on that Zacian, it makes a lot of sense, and it was just in the perfect position to pull it off. And it looks like there was no like grass type on Archie's end that he could use to kind of help that. So it was a little bit rough, but we may even see next time Klefki, instead of going for the Imprison this time, maybe go actually for the Light Screen, and then we could actually do what it was trying to stop the opponent doing.
Potentially. It did very much seem like either it was a complete stroke of luck, or it was predicted that the Imprison was going to happen, which is why the trick came through so early. But with the Iron Ball already being set up, it did seem that was maybe an intentional move. So it could have just been a completely unintended outplay. Yeah. Right? And
as we saw, like someone in the chat has confirmed for us as well that the Iron Ball does have that instant effect too. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense to go for that. And may not even be the screen's Grimmsnarl. It could be Fake Tears, which is often a really good move to kind of pair with your Kyogre, and with Life Orb doing maximum damage, Fake Tears plus anything from a Kyogre is probably going to be one-shotting it. So, anyway, we're going to shortly get into Game 2, where we'll...
Well, I mean, before we go to the next game, David, we have a couple people to thank. And these are the people. You can read them. You have eyes, I hope. And if you don't have eyes, I'm terribly sorry.
Yeah, so we've got Flair Talent Management. Thank you very much to them for supporting them. And we've got, obviously, the UKITT and Chimmychar himself, who've set this all up. 4 scenes of it so far. It's been really fun, and this is the first time we've had this level of production going behind it too.
I prefer Torterra, personally.
Okay, fair enough. And then we got thank you to CaisealBoy, or aka Connagh Johnston, who's obviously was with us before, who we're now streaming on and has been able to provide us with all of this too. And we've also got Synthwave Mafia as well. Thank you very much to them for supporting us too, and Ren Esports as well.
Lovely guys in production today.
Exactly.
Say hi, production.
Yeah, and with Synthwave Mafia, you can also use the code.
Production says hello.
Excellent. SW Mafias to use on their site as well.
SW Mafia 5, sorry.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's I don't blame you. It's far away.
And then an exclamation mark as well.
Yes.
SW Mafia
unless
5.
That's just we're very excited about the code.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's either SW Mafia 5 or XW Mafia 5. So what are the other?
Yeah, and we're proudly supported by the Esports Furniture via CaisealBoy as well. And for any furniture from them, use the code CaisealBoy, i.e. what we are streaming from here today. CaisealBoy.
So let's head straight into game after this word from our sponsors. I'm super interested to see what both of these players are going to bring in for us. I want to see if this Klefki can do anything. I want to see if we can see a different strategy from Rayquaza forced out, potentially. Because at the moment, Rayquaza is under no inclination to not do exactly what happened last game.
Indeed, yeah.
Indeed,
and it did come, and Arch didn't bring his Thunderous either. So, and that's obviously quite a nice option into Kyogre, and we'll get a Defiant boost if the Landorus comes at all, and resist some of the attacks from Zacian too. So, maybe that could be a switch up we could see here. And yeah, as you say, it'd be nice to see Klefki do something, because it did effectively nothing game 1 and just went down.
It did something really cool, and it didn't get to reap the benefits of the cool thing it did. So let's jump into it. I'm expecting to see similar starts from both these players. Grimmsnarl, Kyogre coming out from Rayquaza, and there's actually going to be the Thunderous paired up with the Klefki this time instead of the Palkia. So Lucky just set up this Thunderous instead. Instantly switching out into the Palkia though, and the instant Dynamax from Kyogre here we do go for the Light Screen here straight away. The trick once again happening out, and the guys are again killing Klefki instantly.
Despite the Light Screen, yeah. I wonder if Life Orb actually makes the difference for that calc.
Maybe,
because it's like a lot of people do not expect the Life Orb and maybe calc for Mystic Water Kyogre instead. And so that extra 10% boost could make the difference. But Klefki's not the bulkiest Pokemon, so who knows? But it is at least able to get up something that will now last the rest of the game, most likely, in that light screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we see Thunderous now come in and have an excellent effect at being able to hit this Kyogre for some really good damage. And if it is that Assault Vest, it should be able to take a hit here too.
Absolutely. Let's jump into it, see potentially what this Thunderous can do to Kyogre. Max Airstream coming out onto Grimmsnarl, not as effective as it was last time, still standing up here. The Max Geyser only doing 50%, so Thunderous still alive for now. The Hydro Pump is going to finish up that Grimmsnarl, so no screens available for Rayquaza here. So that's already a big advantage that we have here on Heretic's side, is that presence of Light Screen where Rayquaza has none.
Indeed, yeah, and that's huge that it's a 3-hit KO and not a 2-hit KO, because Thunderous can now do another attack, and no, it's not going to go down to Kyogre's hit this turn. So Palkia's actually in a really nice position here, because although it doesn't have the Life Orb anymore, really a Hydro Pump in the rain does more damage than like a super effective Earth Power.
Sure.
So that if that is able to get the KO on like what is probably not a bulky Zacian, then Thunderous can then go for its attack, likely a Max Lightning, into the Kyogre and do a lot of damage. So Archer's definitely in a better position here, but I think it's going to depend on how much damage output Palkia can put in. But both have got speed boosts and are both definitely supercharged in the driver's seat.
So even with that Iron Ball Palkia, I mean, well, with the Iron Ball Palkia, I think still isn't really going to benefit too much yet from this Max Airstream, unless the second one is taken out. But this kind of cancels it out, right? So it's still probably a little slower than it would have been, even without the Iron Ball, but still definitely in a better situation than it was after that trick was used. So let's collapse these possibilities. It's actually going to be the switch out into Heretic's own Zacian here. The second Max Airstream coming out from Thunderous to hit Zacian for just a little bit. The Play Rough going onto the Zacian instead of the Palkia, so that's a pretty decent switch in. Geyser is going to take out Thunderous though, even through that light screen.
Yeah, looks like it was a bit of a roll from last turn there. I think the low roll happened first, and then the high roll the second time. So it was actually a 2-hit KO. Interesting to see like, the actual specifics there of the likelihood of that, but obviously it seems to have just gone straight down, as we could see. And that shows the power of Life Orb, because if it wasn't Life Orb, it'd be Mystic Water most likely, and would definitely not be getting that 3-shot. So now that KO's gone down, it's a really big KO for Rayquaza here. So Zacian, even though it's got the speed, it's got the attack, it can only target one slot, and Palkia is still stuck with that Iron Ball. So it's likely able to hit and take out like Rayquaza's Zacian on his end, but Kyogre is then able to take the KO on Zacian here. And because Terran has the Pokemon numbers here, he's got the 3 versus the 2, he can afford to take these trades.
For sure, and like the worst case scenario here for Rayquaza is that he brings out the Rillaboom, and Palkia can't really do much in that situation. So it's going to be a really... But we're going to have to see something special here from Heretic to really pull this out. The Protect here from Zacian hopefully gets him some extra time. Palkia gets instantly tapped. Luckily, the Protect is going to save Zacian from that basically max-powered Geyser, but at this point, this is over.
Yeah, that was a fortunate turn there, because like if Heretic goes for the Behemoth Blade into Rayquaza's Zacian, then it gets the KO. Palkia then lives, gets some sort of attack off into Kyogre, and maybe thanks to the light screen, this Zacian then lives the Water-type attack. So that really could have gone either way that turn.
Absolutely. I mean, we may as well just play through the rest of this game and see how it turns out. Heretic really needs to find something special to come out here. But it's going to be a rough one. Have we run out of battery on our little gizmo here? I believe we have. Production, we require a new play button. It delayed
it seems to have worked there, but
we got it.
Yeah. So, as what we may have expected, things have played out with a natural trade. Luckily, Terran hits all his player roughs, and everything just goes to where it should be for the Zacian player and the Kyogre there. So, 2-0 win to Aura Rayquaza versus the other 5-0.
What a turn of events. Even despite some really, really interesting, unique plays coming out from Aura. Sorry, not Aura, from Arch, from Heretic. The sheer existence of Klefki is baffling to me. And I'm so upset that we barely got to see anything that I could do. It's genuinely upsetting to me. But, Heretic put up a really, really good fight, but at the end of the day, Rayquaza, again, just like his team captain, just like Mort, he had a strategy and he went with it. That leading combo of Grimmsnarl and Kyogre, getting that Iron Ball onto a different Pokemon, any Pokemon,
huge, is
such a huge move.
Yeah.
And it takes effect immediately. It stops them from moving until the very end of the turn. And those people who play D&D and are like, initiative doesn't matter. It's everyone gets to take a turn anyway. Yeah, but if you take your turn first, then you can potentially stop the other person taking their turn by murdering them.
Absolutely. To put it one way, or into the Pokemon universe, just a nice little knockout, just a little knockout that they'll be absolutely fine with no repercussions afterwards. They get revived. So
it's a fun activity to do with your friends. It's a nice family outing. This Christmas, why not get together with all your friends and family and kill a man?
Okay. CaisealBoy stream does not endorse killing. So
unless it's of Pokemon.
Unless it's about Pokemon. Yeah. So anyway, a great played set to the Spike the Spiritoons versus the Moomutons there. And yeah, Aura Rayquaza takes the win, 2-0, and he's now the only undefeated player, or potentially the only 6-0 at least anyway, in this whole UKITT season. Again with the Zacian Kyogre, which he's so very much loved and honed this entire season.
I would love to see the game records as well, because obviously in that set we didn't see Rayquaza lose any of the games either. So I would be very interested to see not only the set record, which is now 6-0, but indeed what amount of those games were actually lost, how many of those sets he lost a game in. Because that was a very dominant performance. It would not surprise me if a lot of those other sets had 2-0 conclusions.
Yeah, and they did. I think I looked before the stream, and it's only been 2 individual games that Aura Rayquaza has lost throughout the season. So insane. Most of them have been 2-0 wins.
Truly. Yeah. Truly scary.
Although I've got Mort saying that he's 2-0 in every week, it says, actually. So maybe I was reading it wrong there.
Even scarier.
Yeah. Very cool. And yeah, that was it. Rich has actually posted saying he got a game 1 loss for a team error. Because I think it was a historic event. He brought a G-Max Venusaur instead of a normal one. So he took the game 1 loss and then won the next 2 anyway.
Right. Well, so he lost once on a technicality that was his own fault. So really, it was a self-imposed challenge. It was a handicap that he gave to his opponent. He was like, hey, here is the closest anyone has ever come to beating me. You're not going to do it anyway, but I've just wanted to break your spirits by letting you have just that little extra bit closer.
A little bit of hope.
Just that little tiny shred. But we can move against to our next and potentially final round here. All it takes is now for the Spiritombs to win 1 more set, and they are able to sweep through this final super cleanly.
That's right, yeah. And to do that, hopefully, is for the Spike the Spiritoons is Paul J. Spear on the other side over there. And on our side, we've got P3DS for the Moomutons.
Sheep people.
Indeed, yes, the sheeple.
Yep.
So, and look at the records from over the season. Paul J. Spear's 5-1, so he's really up there as well. He's doing an amazing job this season as well, following in Taryn's footsteps to glory. And on P3GS, he's 2-2, so he hasn't played quite as many games, and is unique at the moment, but and he didn't play in the semi-finals. He played in the Week 5 matchup with a Calyrex Shadow and Groudon Charizard team, which is very different from what he's brought here. And Paul brought to the semi-finals again, like Taran, a Zacian Kyogre team, and that's what we see here. But a little bit different from Taran's team. We've got
some flavour.
Little flavour, and Mamoswine is nothing if not flavour.
Mamoswine has so much flavor that it was hunted to extinction by the people of Johto, which is why you only see it in Sinnoh. A little bit of and we don't count the remakes. Those don't count. We're not counting the remakes. There is no Mamoswine in Sinnoh, other than that one that Pierce has, but we don't talk about Pierce.
No.
Disregarding that, though, a little bit of extra spice, that Mamoswine can bring some unexpected damage. You know, sometimes running that Ice Shard for a little bit of priority stab, and just has more bulk than you see from most Ice-type Pokemon, right? Brings that nice coverage, isn't particularly quick, but makes up for it by being incredibly headstrong and incredibly bulky. So that could be a really interesting Pokemon to point out, but I'm more interested in J3DS's comp here. The first time we're seeing Zapdos, not Galarian, which has been a more common pickup here within the league than this regular Zapdos here. And the Solgaleo, the first time we're seeing that today, unless I'm mistaken there.
Yeah, no, first time today.
But Solgaleo, just a very interesting Pokemon, a very strong Pokemon. That Sun Steel Strike is just so, I mean, first off, beautifully animated. And secondly, just a very powerful move. So I'm very interested to see what these two teams are going to bring out. The only thing I will mention is that Paul doesn't have a traditional screener. So while we have this Grimmsnarl on P3DS's side, we don't have anything equivalent, which tells me Paul is very likely to go for a very aggressive playstyle here.
I agree. And it looks like Mamoswine may actually have quite a field day here, because it's got super effective moves into the Solgaleo, the Zapdos, the Landorus, and the Incineroar. So I can definitely see it bring here. And thanks to its Oblivious ability, it's not going to get affected by the two Intimidators on Phil's end either. So an excellent bringer if he can deal with the Kyogre. But he does have a Thunderous and a Rillaboom. So it's very possible. So I'd maybe put the matchup favor into Paul at the moment, especially as Solgaleo doesn't really like facing into Kyogres very much because it can't abuse that steel type stuff it has.
Sure.
And Zapdos on P3TS's end looks kind of nice too, but let's see. Let's just get into it, because there's a lot I think both these players want to show us.
Sure. I imagine we'll likely see both Incineroars coming out here at the start. I'm instantly proven wrong, and it's going to be no Incineroars here at the start. So not wanting to get the early Intimidate.
You're foreshadowing.
Potentially. Look, I was just expecting let's just throw out our Intimidator here straight away. But straight away, though, Solgaleo going up into that Dynamax form and is going to get paralyzed by that Thunder Wave. Goes for the Max Lightning, and the trade out from the Kyogre into the Mamoswine, huge Galaxy Brain play, and already we're seeing that spice of Sinnoh coming out for Paul.
We are. So the absolute perfect switch there. So even though Solgaleo doesn't get the full power, it does end up doing absolutely nothing in this first turn of its Dynamax. So we've got an interesting Thunderous set here, because not all Thunderous are that Prankster set, which we now have seen it is here, and probably a bit more supportive. Thunder Wave, maybe with Eerie Impulse as well. Thunderbolt, more specially oriented. So Paul's already on the foot of stalling out this Dynamax potentially. However, Phil can now offer a Steel Spike into the Mamoswine, now probably not fearing anything from the Thunderous at the moment, which is going to enable it to take hits a lot better. And if Solgaleo is running that weakness policy, which a lot of them do, then it actually probably may want to get hit by the Mamoswine once a Reflect comes up from this Grimmsnarl.
Or we could see potentially Paul swap back into the Kyogre, predicting the Steel Spike, and basically just play chicken between, hey, am I going to switch? Am I not going to switch? Do you want a Steel Spike? Do you want a Max Lightning? Like, what's the play here, homie?
Pokemon is a fun game.
It's absolutely a fun game for exactly that. It wouldn't surprise me to see Simba go for another round of Max Lightning, predicting that switch as Ed, the Grimmsnarl here, is getting, hit into. Does go for the Steel Spike here on Simba's side. The Focus Sash on the spice that keeps giving. Why does it have a sash?
Well, Mamoswine does have a lot of weaknesses. Ice is not the best defensively type, and neither is Ground, because they both don't offer much resistance. So you're going to get one shot by a lot. So, especially in a Dynamax format. So maybe so it makes a lot of sense there. It's obviously not a Dynamax target for Paul's team. It's probably more that Kyogre. And so Mamoswine takes the hit really nicely and is going to offer some sort of damage going into the next turn. And the nice thing about it being ground type is it can't be affected by Thunder Waves from that potentially might come out from P3TS's Grimmsnarl.
We can have a look. Both Light Screen and Reflect have both been put up by P3DS, so just the amount of damage coming through is going to be severely reduced. Finally, that Grimmsnarl does get taken down, but he's done everything that he needs to. And now the Max Mindstorm coming out from the Solgaleo, not opting to finish off the Mamoswine just yet, allowing him to just soften up both of these Pokemon on Paul's side, just looking to get that two sweep, get both of them off the field in the same turn, force Paul to reveal his last two Pokemon at the same time. One of them is going to be that Kyogre, and I think with how things are playing out, it wouldn't surprise me to see Incineroar be the next pickup here. Already Rillaboom is looking kind of risky with the Fire-type moves from Solgaleo, with the Flying-type moves from Zapdos. There's just a lot that Rillaboom is going to have a hard time coming into in this matchup. So I think most likely we'll see the... oh wait, no, Zacian's still on the table. Never mind, it'll probably be Zacian.
No, I see what you're saying though, because Rillaboom would only be coming for the Kyogre, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's nothing else it really offers a lot into. And Zacian it's steel resisted by the Incin, the Solgaleo, the Zapdos, the Kyogre, so there's actually a lot of reasons not to bring Zacian here. So even if it may come this game one, it's definitely probably an option for Paul not to bring in future games.
Absolutely. So we'll see. I mean, I could be wrong. He could bring out the Rillaboom for all we know. The Detect actually coming out here from the Zapdos. I really like that. Just gives him a little bit of extra protection. Mamoswine's going to do the same. Didn't predict right, though. Paul is going to lose that Thundurus and is going to go into the Zacian with that Intrepid Sword.
Yeah, okay, so Zacian is here, and there's your Ice Shot that you said about there, Robbie, very early on. Able to get a crucial amount of damage, but Play Rough is still not enough thanks to the Reflect.
Dude, Reflect is so strong
right
now.
The Life Orb, it makes it a two-shot Zacian, and unfortunately, a full power there on the Solgaleo, which may have been an Earthquake to take the KO on the Zacian and the Mamoswine in that same go. Maybe. That's huge, though. Paul now... Peds now has to put in Kyogre, who is the last Pokemon that he has already shown to us. I'm not sure Paul has anything for this Kyogre in this situation. So I think either way, Paul is going to have to either bring out some magic or lose this first game here. Yeah, I think so. It's definitely an uphill battle for Phil here. So Nala the Kyogre does end up coming in. Incredible. And going for the Protect. But Sacred Sword is going to the Solgaleo, doing a decent bit of damage, and the High Horsepower does now come up. Does it proc the weakness policy? Reflect. No
Reflect is just too good, man. It's not even funny how good Reflect is.
But Earthquake doesn't even pick up the KO on the Zacian, which is very unfortunate for Phil there, because Zacian can now get a huge another attack off.
Finally seeing the Dynamax form here from Kyogre, just really trying to get Simba down, but the Origin Pulse is going to bounce off the Protect from Zacian. The Wild Charge barely scraping Kyogre, actually, and now Peds could be in some trouble. This is a 2v1 situation. Zacian's going to be able to get a large chunk of damage here. Kyogre is still Dynamax, and that Max Lightning going to bring him down 42%. A complete turnaround. The Origin Pulse only going to take down Zacian, and this is game. This is game, David. It looks like game to me, unless Phil's Kyogre suddenly outspeeds again and gets a Thunder full power, but not this time. What a turn. You know what? When I said I don't know that Paul has anything to do here, I may have been forgetting that pesky little detail of Kyogre still being alive. Yeah. And that, sometimes you make a call, and it's wrong, and you just have to go with it until it's proven otherwise. This was that moment. I forgot Kyogre resisted. I was pleasantly surprised by the sudden, to me, groundbreaking plot twist that, surprise, Kyogre was alive the whole time.
You definitely don't want to be sleeping on that whale, because as we've seen from game after game in the last few sets, Kyogre has been a very key piece in a lot of people's teams. And we saw it there, doing a lot of damage. And again with the max lightning as well. So we've often seen a lot of Kyogres just be a couple of water moves, Ice Beam, and then like Protect. Not a lot of max lightnings going around. But if Kyogre's picking up, then why not put a electric move on your own Kyogre to help against that? Yeah. So we've seen both Taran and Paul's team Kyogres have that max lightning option, which has been really key in taking out other people's Kyogres.
We've been seeing so many bulky water types running through as these kind of like primary damage dealers, right? Kyogre and Palkia specifically are those two big, bulky water types that are going to do so much damage to everyone, going to set up so many stat boosts with their Dynamax forms. And then we'll have a lot of staying power. Especially, I believe some Palkia sets do use that recover as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be completely off on that. And
not
thinking
recover, no.
I think I'm thinking about Gastrodon.
Yes.
That Gastrodon's in my head, rent-free from earlier. I'm still upset we didn't get to see him recover. That's my favorite move. Healing is sexy. We're going to move on. We're just going to blow straight past what I just said. But, making sure that your primary damage dealer, that water type, that Kyogre, can deal with the opposing Kyogre or Palkia or whatever may present itself is just, why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you? You don't need two water type moves. You can either have the Hydro Pump or you can have the Water Spout. You don't need both.
No, especially with the Dynamax as the option to turn that spread move into just the most powerful possible Max Geyser you can do. So anyway, that's one of the games from Paul and Phil that we've had there, and Paul does end up taking the win for the Spikemuth Spiritombs, and now only needs one more win to actually take the entire win for the Spikemuth Spiritombs in this final. So let's get into game 2 and see if Paul can pull it out and get that final game that they need. So in terms of switch ups of Pokemon here, I think Phil played nicely with the Solgaleo. Luckily he didn't get full paralyzed in too much. There was one point where he did, and where an Earthquake would have been very nice to get off. But that's the thing about Thunderwave. The more turns you're spending with a paralysis condition, the more likely you're going to eventually get fully paralyzed. And that's where it happened. It was a pretty fair one.
Peds was very lucky to survive as many rounds as he did without getting paralyzed, right? Yeah. It was lucky enough that none of his Dynamax turns were wasted because of the Parahacks. I think at this point, Peds needs to be playing the next 2 games one at a time. And I know that sounds like a given, right? But very often when you're playing in these long sets, you're thinking, okay, I can do this, and then next round, we're gathering information here. There is no more information to be gathered. If Peds loses here, he isn't just losing this set for himself, he is losing this game for his team. And this is the finals. This is everything. All or nothing time begins right here with the start of this game. Game number 2, set 3 of the finals. Ladies and gentlemen, Peds needs to defend here, or him and the rest of the sheeple will be sent home. So let's see if he's going to choose to stick with that initial lead of Grimmsnarl and Kyogre, or if it's going to be something different as we once again wait for a little instrument here to decide it wants to work today.
Yeah, so as we wait for it to then press the play button, it's interesting to see that there's no weakness policy on the Solgaleo. So I'd be curious to see what item it maybe was, because it wasn't a Lumberry. And possibly an Assault Vest, as I don't think we saw a Protect, I believe. But anyway, we see the leads here, which are a little bit different from last time.
Yes, that's right. We do see the Solgaleo coming in straight away instead of that Kyogre. No, never mind. This was the same start from Peds. I believe it's the Thundurus that was different this time around. With Ed already taking a lot of damage, Simba has that Paralyze already. Kyogre takes half his health. This is already looking a lot better for Paul coming into the first round here.
It does, and Grimmsnarl being able to live has been really huge. So And like, there's only so much Thunderous can do versus this lead. Now it's got that paralysis off. It's kind of a little bit useless now. It can maybe pick up a KO on the Grimmsnarl, but not before Grimmsnarl gets maybe another screen up here. And both have gone for the Dynamax, and Paul's taken a lot of damage. And if it is that Assault Vest on Phil's Solgaleo, he is not going to be taking a lot of damage from this Kyogre now. So he's actually, as you say, Robbie, in a much better position.
Absolutely, and well, Ed actually not opting to go for that Reflect, instead choosing to go for that Thunder Wave to get that paralysis condition onto Kyogre before he dies. He knew exactly what was about to happen, right? He knew he was about to go down, and it was the option of let us either set up this Reflect here for permanent, or just put this paralysis onto Kyogre. And yet again, we haven't seen any para hacks come through onto Solgaleo.
Not yet.
While he's been in this Dynamax form. Now, I could have just casted it, and I really hope that I haven't. I have not. Max Lightning comes straight through, demolishes the rest of Kyogre, and now we are back to neutral. It is 1-1.
Yep, and so we're going straight into this next game with Hurricane doing over 50% to Mamoswine, which is very crucial. That's doing a huge amount of damage, and there is the live from Solgaleo, but thanks to its paralysis, it is now going straight down this turn.
And that's the difference between having the Reflect and not having the Reflect, right? It took 4 high horsepowers last round to take down that Solgaleo, and that was with Thunderous also dealing damage to him. This time around, 1 high horsepower does 71%, I believe it was. Yep, 71%. And that is such a huge Pokemon to get off the table this early on. And now Paul doesn't have his Kyogre, which was so instrumental to him last round. But we have now seen the last 2 Pokemon on Ped's team, right? It's just Kyogre and Zapdos here. Paul still has an extra Pokemon to play with. He now has the option, but whenever one of these 2 goes down, or if he wants to switch out, he has 3 options. He can go into the Rillaboom, he can go into the Zacian, he can go into the Incineroar. I think, personally, the Rillaboom is a fantastic option here if he's able to take out Zazu, the wonderfully named Zapdos.
I agree. But interestingly, like, Kyogre is probably, versus these 2, the last Pokemon that you want right now. And that is the one that's gone here. And Thunderous with that Eerie Impulse and the Thunder Waves is able to just keep spreading status this turn. It's probably going to be an Eerie Impulse into the Kyogre, and none of that can get reset either because Peds is down to his last 2. So he's in a tricky position now because of that. Again, though, that is just a numbers game at the moment, even despite the health of these 2 Pokemon.
Now, we're going to really hope to see that Shard coming out onto Nala just to deal that quick bit of damage, make sure that, well, actually, never mind. We're going to just full focus down Zapdos, and even the Origin Pulse missed! What?
Very unfortunate. I think, Phil really needed that KO there. And now it's taking a huge amount of damage, and there's probably still a Zacian in the back as well. So there's still no KO on that Thunderous, but Mamoswine has got away with a big attack here. There is the leftovers on the Kyogre here, so he is able to heal, but the worst thing I could probably get up against has come in, as you said, Robbie.
Half special attack drop, paralysis comes out, there's the Grassy Glide from Rillaboom, and ladies and gentlemen, in an almost unprecedented set of back-to-back-to-back 2-0s, in the finals, it is going to be the Spiritombs walking away with that 3-0 overall victory. Sorry.
Yeah. No problem. Like, I'm overwhelmed too. Like, despite the Spiritombs have obviously definitely the deserved winners, having gone almost undefeated in the normal like 5 rounds of UKITT, and then had guaranteed their place even before the end of that. So the fact that they've gone on to win now is definitely a testament to the strength of their team, Mort being the captain and having drafted the team. So really well played to all of these players.
We've seen from time and time again from these Spiritomb players, we've seen their specialty seems to be having that strategy and nailing down on it, They, the first 2 games that we saw, they had a very unique, well, not necessarily unique, but specialized interaction. We saw the Charizard lead, not a bulky water type, which is what we've been seeing from nearly every other player in the league. But, we saw that unique implementation of the Charizard there, and that was the strategy that worked out.
Yeah.
And in that second game, we saw a similar thing. This time around, we saw a little bit more adaptation from Paul there. From necessity, absolutely. Peds was a very even match for him. Both of those games went down to the wire. But at the end of the day, Spiritombs, I think, have made it this far off just an impressive attention to strategy and knowing exactly what game they want to play and not playing anyone else's.
Exactly. They seem to just have been really on top of what's hot in the meta and like really kind of bringing a little bit of spice, not like absolute just like Giratina plus like I don't know, Dialga like spice, but like just a little bit of hint there, like the Life of Kyogre, or just running the little electric move there, or like just the Mamoswine as just that little like
spice. Icing
on the top of whatever spicy thing
Sinnoh
we're making
Spice.
Here. Sinnoh Spice, yeah. So that's 3 games so far there. And I think we've got maybe 2 more potentially to go as well, because we are going to be going through the rest. So we're going to be heading soon for a little break before we go into the final 2 games.
But yep, so we're going straight into that break, and we'll see you after it.
welcome back everyone to the last couple of games of this UKITT finals for Season 4. I've joined again by a dancing Robbie, who's having fun because he just witnessed some amazing gameplay. Yep. And, you know, are you excited to see how this all concludes? Do you think there's going to be a clean sweep 5-0? Or are the Moomitons going to get a couple of games back, you know, have a nice little 3-2 comfortably?
I'm interested. For those of you interested, I'm doing the Big Kyogre, Little Kyogre cardboard box.
Yeah.
I can. Oh, PC box. Yeah, Big Kyogre, Little Kyogre, PC box.
You know, Stack Attacker, the big box Pokemon?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
sure.
that.
We can do Big Kyogre, Little Kyogre, Stack Attacker. That works out perfectly.
That works out. There you go.
Do I think it's going to be a 2-0? I have no idea. I have never seen any of these players play. I had a brief glimpse into what the Spiritomb side. So what Scotty and Isa? I can't read your writing here.
Isaku.
Isaku. I had a brief idea, a brief glimpse into what kind of things that they can do. I have not seen any of these last two players from the Sheeple, so I'm very excited. I have no predisposition as to which of these teams I think is going to win. I think it could be very interesting if we saw the last two games of this half actually go the way of the Sheeple. So just for you guys at home, so you guys know, the Spiritombs have won the finals. These last two games do not change that, or will not change anything, will have no effect on the standings. We're playing these last two out purely for conjecture, purely just to see, and to obviously give the last four players their chance to be broadcasted here.
Yep, and we'll see how it is as we roll in to the match eventually. And, you know, I'm quite looking forward to it because I'm on the Moomitons, obviously I was for this season. I didn't play very much because I was very dedicated to streaming, but the players are a very good, you know, group of trainers. You know, they've shown their skill in using weird Pokemon, they've shown their skill in trying out new formats, you know, and some of them were brand new to VGC this season, or at least have taken a long break. And that is something I like to see in this sort of game, because, you know, it shows a Pokemon can bring people together. It's like old, young, families, friends, you know, it does everything. And if I see a couple of Pokemon I like, I'm very happy, because, you know, it's the last couple of games. Maybe they as a team knew they'd lost already, so like, I'm going to have some fun. But, you know, fun is all we really want to have here, you know, for the last couple of games. And see how it rolls out.
I disagree. I'm here to see violence and hopefully a Blaziken and definitely another Klefki. I want to see Klefki do stuff. I want to see a Blaziken in a game, and I want to see it now. Bring it up. Game number 1 here, coming into our 4th set, and unfortunately, my anger will know no bounds, as there is not only no Blaziken, but there is also no Klefki, and I'm sad now.
I will break your heart even further, and Blaziken is, although it is in this game, it got added in the update, it got added in the DLC, because you can catch it in the raid adventures. But
I remember I brought over my whole Hoenn team to Unova, to Gala once the bank update with Shield, Isle of Armor. The other one.
The other one, Crown Tundra.
Crown Tundra, that's the one. So yeah, don't try and jip me out of my hope. I can still dream that a Blaziken might make an appearance.
Yep, you should make it a thing. You should go on the ladder on Showdown, and you should make a Blaziken team.
Just a purely Blaziken-based team.
You know, just place Incineroar Blaziken, essentially the same thing.
Yeah. No.
It beats Incineroar.
Well,
we'll have to see. If you tune into Blazy's channel, you might see him playing with a Blaziken team at some point.
No. Maybe. Well,
maybe. We don't know.
Maybe I can get back into comp.
But yeah, without further ado, let's get some gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump straight into this one. We're gonna go a little easier on the pauses. These games are, as I said, we're just playing them out a little bit more for fun. So let's just jump into this. I'm expecting to see from Scotty. We've got a similar team as we saw from Rayquaza earlier, I believe. Actually, no, sorry, it was Mort running that Charizard at the start of this finals set. So potentially seeing that Gigantamax Charizard with the Grimmsnarl again. With that Groudon to set up the Sunny Day, and meanwhile Michio here running a very similar team to what we saw in set 2 from Peds with that Palkia. It was Peds. I was right. Yeah, I'm correct. It was Peds.
Yep, it was Peds. I believe so.
So let's get going.
Let's get going.
What are you waiting for?
How our players go. As we do see a nice and lovely lead of a Charizard, everyone's favourite. It makes money, and then Groudon, its lovely partner, because it sets up Sun for it to activate that solar power, and Zapdos and Palkia, you know, Pokemon that are knocking out both these Pokemon effectively if they get the right turn of play. If Charizard goes big, Zapdos goes big, so 2 flying types are going big, and Palkia might be doing a big damage, but Charizard does all that damage there. And then the Max Airstream going to go into Charizard, do a nice chunk back with a critical hit, and then it's going to get that speed boost, and we're going to see Spatial Rend get the knockout on Charizard, so a G-Max Pokemon is gone already.
Bye-bye, but equally Groudon is going to hit Zapdos with that Stone Edge. That's going to take him down, and that Inferno will still be blazing for the next few rounds. It's going to do some decent chip damage. Gastrodon was just sent in, Rillaboom on the same turn, so instantly evacuated. And that Grassy Glide isn't going to do too much to Zacian here, so a nice little prediction. The Earth Power, though, you can't really discount. That's going to do so much damage, just like that Fire Punch did to Rillaboom.
Yes, that's really going to change the player field. A really good prediction there of a switch out into a Zacian, or just going for overall coverage. Maybe there was a Rindo Berry. And you can see the Palkia protect, with that speed boost, it's very comfortable sitting for its Pokemon. Zacian protecting as well, not getting damage off, as the Grassy Glide goes into Groudon, does a solid chunk of damage, but isn't going to grab the knockout. His Precious Place goes in, it's going to knock out the Rillaboom, because unfortunately it's not reduced by the effects of grassy terrain like other spread moves. We're going to see the chip of the Wildfire go down, but the grassy terrain is going to heal back. Palkia being shown as a lot slower than the other things, as Zacian comes in here, and Zacian is threatening both these Pokemon with how little HP they have, but Gastrodon coming in to tank some hits.
Gastrodon has nothing to worry about at this point. The Rillaboom has fallen down, and we're back to a 2-2 situation. Gastrodon tanking that Behemoth Blade like an absolute champion. I think the G-Fire Flames, the G-Max Wildfire Flames should be gone by now, or potentially next turn. Groudon's going to come out as this last Pokemon. The Spatial Rend's going to hit hard, play rough onto Gastrodon, nearly takes it out there. But both of these Pokemon are still alive. Precipice Blades aren't going to connect onto Palkia, who now has to deal with 2 people. The Earth Power is going to be big, and I think this is going to be all over for Michio, unless Palkia can find that last little resolve. Has to either dodge one of these abilities or protect them for this round while that grassy terrain helps him out a little bit.
Yes, of course, Palkia is forced into using a Spatial Rend to hit into that Groudon because it can't use its Water-type attacks with the Gastrodon on the field. Gastrodon isn't as threatening, though, because it isn't hitting super effectively. But with that Yawn, it has got a bit of offensive presence. Groudon going down to that Spatial Rend, but the Yawn coming out from the Gastrodon, and Palkia can't risk a Protect here. It has to hope the best and highest amount of damage comes out. There's a rest of Protect, though, from the Gastrodon, and Palkia is going to go to sleep on this turn, meaning that Gastrodon has enough time to recover or chip away whatever damage it has, and possibly take it for Scotty.
This is 2 Earth Powers. 1 if it's a high roll. Only 32% there, so Palkia needs to wake up this turn. And even then, I'm not sure it can one-shot the Gastrodon, but the question is a moot point, because that's going to be game 1 here in favor of Scotty. And that is, I believe, that is once again a victory for the Spiritombs. Scotty only has to win 1 more here in this set to be able to... I think at that point that is a complete removal of any sort of chance or conjecture as to whether or not the Spiritombs deserved to win this, right? Because at that point, a 4-0, even a 4-1 is more than a decisive victory here in this best-of-3 set.
Yeah, it's the best you can get. If you can get that 5-0 as well, that's going to probably be the biggest win we've had in UK history for the finals, which would be amazing. As I was saying at the start of the stream, it's some of the best players in all of UK VGC. You've got Taran or Rayquaza, who has shown a lot of strength over the Sword and Shield formats. You've got Mort, who has been very strong in all of UKITT, and there's just loads of players alongside them, new and old, that have learnt from them, or even taught them a little bit themselves, develop this team and get to the finals where they are. And, so even if it's at the 4-1, it's still quite a critical win, so I have to see how they go. And Scotty could be getting their second win of the entire tournament here, which would be a very bit, a nice bit of icing on the cake to finish it all off for them.
Yeah, Scotty at the moment sitting 0-4, which, considering Mitch is 1-4 for Scotty, 0-3 for Mitch. So this could either be Mitch's first win, or his 4th loss, and for Scotty it could be either his 2nd win or his 5th loss. I don't know which of those storylines is better. I think I'm rooting for Mitch here. I just want the guy to get a dub. He seems like a nice dude. He doesn't have a Blaziken though, so I think it's probably going to be a giant L. Because we all know to properly succeed at Pokemon, you need the best one, and that's this boy over here.
Well, not this exact boy.
Well, his small form.
Small form.
Less angry Blaziken.
Yes.
Only slightly less, though.
Only slightly less.
Because Blaziken radiates the energy of pure violence, and that's, That's why I love him.
Yeah, and Blaziken is actually quite a prominent Pokemon. Did you know before they made the 3rd gen games, it was going to be a legendary?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Originally combined somewhat with Latias.
Yeah, it was.
Until they split off and made themselves different Pokemon.
Yeah, and Latios used to be a human.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you look on the artwork, there's a girl riding the back of it with the same hairstyle.
Interesting.
Yeah, but those Pokemon, they can appear in VGC, but not in these teams. So we'll jump on straight through to those next games and see if we can see Scotty taking their 2nd win and just adding a bit more icing and salt into the wound. Obviously, I don't know why you're putting icing in your wound, but
sometimes you just want the 3rd degree burn on your leg to taste better. Okay, Connor?
Okay.
Don't call me out like this, man.
But yeah, we'll jump over all these metaphors and we'll go into this game. Of course, the Spiritomb's already won. Scotty just looking to win it all. And then Michio looking to give the Moomatons a bit of extra help here. So we'll jump straight into that. As we see a nice lead of the Zapdos coming again. Nice shiny Zapdos, hard to tell obviously. And a nice, I believe that's a shiny Palkia as well, in front of the Zacian and the Charizard. So both Zacian and Charizard both very strong, but Zapdos threatens both of these. Palkia with an Earth Power do a lot of damage to Zacian. We could just see the Max Airstream plus Earth Power play again. You see Protect coming from the Palkia, so going a little less offensive to play rough, predicting that, not taking it, and then we can see the Max Airstream, so speed is in the favour of Zacian. Not very much damage because there's no Sun activated, but it doesn't really matter because the Max Lightning is coming out, opting for no speed, just missing the knockout, and meaning that Charizard is there for another turn if the Groudon wants to come in, and Zacian coming in here for Michio as well.
I'm particularly impressed at Michio for, not only finding shiny variants of these legendary Pokemon, but also finding shiny variants of these Pokemon with max EVs and IVs that he can bring into these competitive battles. It must have taken him a lot of time to be able to find all those Pokemon.
That's the power of Showdown, it lets you live your wildest dreams of playing in competitive battles without the hassle of counting everything and calculating everything. And if you like your team, you can go hunt for it in game. Might not have the same shiny luck because it's just a click of a button, but if you get it, you get it. As we see Zacian and Palkia on the field now, so pretty much every restrictor we think of just need Groudon, and it's a party for all of them. Zacian protecting from that Blast Burn, as we see Palkia getting the Spatial Rend off, knocking out the Charizard, but the Zacian paralyzed. It goes. Oh, there's a berry on the Palkia. It just lives with the Roselli berry, and this could. But the wildfire. Spoke too soon. And then Zacian is sitting in front of Zacian and Groudon. With Rillaboom coming in, Rillaboom can do a lot of damage to this Groudon, so if they double up, hoping the Zacian gets paralyzed, this could be good news. The fake out is not going for a Grassy Guard. Give a little clap.
Give him a clap.
And the Imprison, stopping any attacks from the Zacian essentially. It can't use Behemoth Blade, and this is putting it in a rough situation now because Zacian is forced to use one of its weaker non-stab attacks, to get some damage down.
That's very, very cool. I love the move Imprison. I think it's a very interesting counter because we see moves like Taunt or Flattery, not Flattery, sorry, Taunt or Encore, as ways of forcing particular moves into happening. But the idea that you can just go, hey, if you have the same move as me, I would prefer if you didn't. It's basically the equivalent of going, hey, we both turned up to the party wearing the same dress, one of us has to change.
Yeah, and that is something that happens, Back in the old formats of Pokemon, people would openly try and find out if Pokemon had Detect over Protect to still get the protecting effect, but without taking the downside of Imprison, because there's a lot of Pokemon running Imprison to stop things like Eevee from popping off, stop things from like using Protect on a Trick Room turn. And it's just been ingrained in the VGC culture now, and Zacian especially, when everything is going to be facing against the Zacian, you're going to be seeing things like the Imprison to stop Behemoth Blades, the Sacred Swords, the Play Roughs. So you've got to rely on them maybe being a close combat variant to maybe not get that damage dropped on you, or you could got to rely on you having Substitute. But then if you're clicking Substitute every turn, you're not doing much. So it's just really good there.
Good. Well, Scotty won. So. Sorry, Mitch. No W's for you. Should have brought a Blaziken. Is my only feedback to that. Our final game of the day is going to be between. I'm gonna try and read this. Azikud.
Isaac, we call him.
Isaac. You're telling me you could have written Isaac here.
I didn't write
and you
that.
chose to instead
That's
write
what they
this.
call themselves on Discord. I didn't write any of these notes.
Unbelievable. And then Gym Master Jaden.
Yes.
Why is that an O?
I asked David.
This is an O. I'd like it to be this is an O written here. Wait, this is David's writing,
This is
not
David's
yours?
writing.
Oh, I
Yeah.
feel bad now. I like David. Sorry, David. Sorry, Mitch. You have failed to achieve victory this time. Next time, bring a Blaziken. Those are my only comments. GG, go next.
Should Scotty bring a Blaziken as well next time?
Yes.
Should everyone bring Blaziken?
Everyone should bring Blazikens. There's no excuse to not bring a Blaziken.
Right.
Why wouldn't you want a giantly powerful, faster than the Flash kick chicken kicking your enemies in the face?
True.
Why wouldn't you want that? What is the possible downside?
There's no downside to it. It's a very strong Pokemon.
Exactly.
Next season, can we get a wildcard format called the Robbie format where you have to use Blaziken?
Only Blazikens.
Only Blaziken.
Just a full team of 6
Full team of 6
Blazikens.
Blazikens
And 1 Klefki.
1 Klefki. You really like your Klefki.
5 Blaziken, 1 Klefki. You can have a Klefki. That's fine.
Well, maybe we'll see either of those Pokemon in this next game as we come into the final match of UKITT Season 4. And we do have a Gastrodon, and we do have a Palkia. So they're coming back for the
Is
show.
that an Amoonguss?
That is an Among Us. Amoonguss. It's
And
kind
a
of
Dusknoir. You know what? You know what? This might not be Blaziken or Klefki, but I'm so here for Dusklops and Amoonguss. Yes.
They are two very good
Thank
Pokemon.
you, Isaac. You have made my day more interesting.
We'll have to see if that battle's interesting, though.
Let's go!
Let's go.
Let's
Jump
do it!
straight into it. Straight into it.
Do the thing!
Speed run it, like Dream SMP. Right, so Incineroar coming out alongside a nice, lovely Charizard there, 2 fire types, and both starters as well. A cat and a dragon against a cat and a dragon. So have to see what's happening there. If the Intimidates go off, we might reveal Speed Tears or a Speed Tie. Protect coming out from Charizard, not going Dynamax this turn. Fake Out going into Incineroar again, still revealing no Speed Ties. As the Palkia is now free to go for a Trick Room, and on teams like this, Trick Room is the game end for most people, as Amoonguss comes in and it can throw some sleep powders and spores, whatever it wants around.
I'm incredibly... I'm so looking forward to what this Trick Room Amoonguss can do. Parting Shot coming out from both Incineroars there, just to debuff the carries of the team, and now we have Calyrex Ice coming out. This is... correct me if I'm wrong here, Connor, but this isn't typically the Calyrex variant that we see. Typically, we see that Ghost Rider variant.
Well, a lot of people do use Ghost Rider in like hyper offense teams, because it's fast, it gets damage off really quickly. But Calyrex Ice in Trick Room has a really strong attack pool, and when it gets its attack boost from its ability, it is a threat. And you can give it Assault Vest. It has access to both Max Quake and Max Steel Spike to buff both its defensive stats. And next to any Pokemon, you can Thunder Wave next to it, make it slightly faster. You can Trick Room with it, have it slow mode. So it's quite versatile. Just it dies to quite a few things in the format and hasn't got that speed to support it.
Well, it is going to use that Max Quake, as you said, to boost up their special defense. Charizard is fast asleep thanks to that Spore from Amoonguss there. Incineroar now coming back out, trying to get that extra little proc off. Charizard is going to go into that Dynamax form while still sleeping. That's 1 whole turn of Gigantamax wasted here by Jaden, who is unable to wake up his Charizard.
Yeah, and doing that is kind of a risky move because maybe they're relying on waking up. Maybe they miscounted their sleep turns. What to try and lie? They do wake up though with the Lumberry. Yes, the Lumberry wasn't activated because of the ability of the Calyrex. It gets 2 abilities to get Unnerve and it gets its attack boosts.
Interesting.
So maybe hoping for a switch out, or maybe just forgetting, items ability effects. But Charizard is now out of Trick Room and big as Zacian comes in. Zacian threatens his Palkia very hard as Trick Room does go up again, and health is chipping away from the opposing DMAX Wildfire. So will they survive through his next turns?
Well, that is the question. I'm loving the constant back and forth between bringing this Incineroar out. He's gonna down smash, down B, side B, off stage you. With that spike, he's gonna spike you straight down into the smash zone. That's what it's called now. It's called the smash zone. You're gonna get smashed down by Incineroar, and he's gonna enjoy every single second of it. This professional wrestler, furry man, is just gonna have so much fun with every single thing he's gonna do to you, just like that Charizard did, with that Heat Wave just completely decimating both health bars there. Calyrex is going to fall down there as well from the G-Max Flames. And that is going to be a 2 Pokemon swing in favor of Jaden. Now bringing out the Amoonguss and the Palkia. Charizard's going to go in for that Protect. The Hex into Charizard isn't going to quite do it because of it. The parting shot onto the Palkia there, and now it's going to force out the switch onto the Zacian.
Yeah, of course, a very interesting move there on the Amoonguss in the Hex, because not many run it, because you could have the Spore to then put things to sleep, get double damage from Hex, a good tech for all those Ghost types flying about. But something you don't see often is we see...
No way, Charizard got the double protect off there.
Ending the Trick Room as well, and stopping it from being Spored, and it can quite happily go for a Heat Wave, a Blast Burn, whatever fire type moves it has, and Zacian can just knock out this Palkia. Well, Zacian's not going to knock out the Palkia because of the Rage Powder, but it doesn't matter because Zacian's going to beat that Amoonguss to the ground. Heat Wave going to go to Palkia, doing very little damage, and then Trick Room going up, but for what cause? Because Chimmychar Jaden has all Pokemon on field. A useless Intimidate, but nice pivoting there. The Protect from Zacian, just keeping it safe, keeping it healthy, stopping enough power going off. Maybe we're going to see Fake Out Player Off to end this game here.
And the predictions from Jaden as well. Basically every single thing that Isaac has attempted to do this game, Jaden has shut down handily. So, well played to him. Picks up, I believe, the first match victory of this entire set of games. So, good job, Jaden. You're a credit to your unit or your team. Although I will have to dock you points for defeating the player with a fun team. So,
yeah,
you can take that in whichever way that you like. Either way, good job. Minus points.
So, mediocre job.
So yeah, you did fine. Do better next time, but bring a more fun team, and then I won't have to deduct you points for winning. That.
Yeah,
you know, like here's the thing. These games don't matter.
Yeah, they don't.
So they should have just known that these games weren't going to matter, and then just brought complete fun teams.
Yeah, they should have brought some fun.
Yep.
I just heard in my ears that because of the way they played, they didn't know they didn't matter.
Sorry, I was being sarcastic there. We all know. Production's whispering in my ear, telling me that they 100% didn't know this was going to happen. I'm aware of that. For everyone's information, thank you, production. I'm aware. I'm just sick of seeing Kyogre. Bring me a Rayquaza. Is a Rayquaza too much to ask?
Rayquaza has been very good in this format. I think we saw it earlier in the tournament. You should start a team in UKITT, and they can only bring Pokemon you say they can bring.
I agree. It's gonna be called the we're really into our alliteration here, aren't we? It's gonna be the Badass Blazykins, and you're only allowed to bring Pokemon that I, Blazybard, approve of. And speaking of Pokemon that I, Blazybard, approve of, let's jump into game number 2 with that Dusclops and that Amoonguss, because I'm interested to see if Isaac can do anything with these, or if they're just flash in the pan nonsense shenanigans.
Maybe it is. We could maybe see from the weakness policy that was on the Calyrex a side Shadow Sneak to get it off as fast as possible, and then just bap things with its nice strong attacks. We'll have to see as we jump into these games here. Bit of technical difficulties is there's not wanted because someone's moved the mouse.
Incredible. Oh, I see it. I see the mouse.
There we go.
Mouse has been spotted.
Right. So after those technical difficulties, we see a Regieleki coming in alongside a Palkia, and we're going to have the Incineroar and, wait for it, the Charizard. So opting to go for Incineroar Charizard again. Going to get a Fake Out off on something possibly. And then, but the Regieleki goes big, and that thing is a threat in front of that Charizard and the Incineroar because of how its ability works.
I don't know how its ability works, Connor, so why don't you let me know how it works?
The way its ability works is it basically has a built-in electric terrain because it gets I believe it's either a 1.3 or 1.5 times boost to its electric type attacks. So you have Stab, plus the ability, plus possibly a Magnet or a Life Orb, plus now electric terrain. So that's like 4 or 5 stacks on one turn. As you see, it's just shredding through this team. Groudon, not really threatened by it, but Palkia can of course threaten it. I see you're bouncing along with the Regieleki as well.
Regieleki's just completely vibing right now, and I am 100% there with it. As Isaac, honestly, it looks like he's doing pretty good. It might have behooved Jaden to go into the Gastrodon, completely immune to anything Regieleki might want to do. There's going to be the Gigantamax onto the Groudon there, though. Zacian using that Protect, predicting that Max Quake. Down goes Palkia. A little bit of extra special defense. So bringing it back a little bit is Jaden. Groudon's been able to Dynamax here for absolutely free. Calyric's Ice going to come out, though. This is a dangerous one, but Zacian might be able to just one-tap it, or at least he would have been able to if it weren't for this Among Us and its Rage Powder. For those of you who don't know, that Rage Powder is going to make it basically the same kind of effect as Follow Me. Not that it matters. That's going to be Max Flare, that's going to be Behemoth Blade, and that is going to be a 2-to-1 Pokemon left. Only Regieleki left on the field, and after such a strong first couple rounds, Regieleki falls, and Jaden picks up 1 point for the Sheeple. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be 4-1 in total in favor of the Spiritomb, making them not only the winners, but the undisputed winners. That extra game really solidifies that in my eyes. Jaden, congratulations. You were the only player on your team who didn't lose.
Yep, well done, Jaden. We did it. But yeah, even if the rest of today's lost, as long as they had fun, maybe not your fun because you're saying fun.
They didn't have enough fun.
Not enough fun. You should tell them.
They didn't have enough fun by my standards, and therefore they didn't have enough fun. Full stop. Why am I the Sheeple?
Why am I a Spiritomb on my forehead? I guess it matches my hair.
Why am I the Sheeple? I don't want to be. Production, you better fix this right now. You better. I don't want to be the. I'm not. I didn't do the losing. I didn't lose.
Right, I'm just gonna grab it. Can I pull it off screen?
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for joining us here. I'm gonna let Connor take the outro actually because I feel like you deserve it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And I'm also very upset with production right now. So, thank you, production.
Right, there we go. They're taking it off you. They're getting a bit. They're talking to us in our headsets. But yeah, so thank you everyone for coming along. It's been a wild ride. Just to have UKITT come this far. We've got a bit more content afterwards, like IRL stuff, just to finish off the stream. But from the desk anyway, it's going to be a nice goodbye from me and Robbie and David, where he is backstage. But, we're just going to ramble on until we're all ready and set up behind the stream. So, yeah, I've just been told in my ear we are ready to go. So I'll pass you on over to Samantha and possibly David as well to say our final goodbyes.
Bye!
Bye-bye.
And that is it. The Spikemuth Spiritombs do take the finals of UKITT Season 4 4-1, which was a huge win. Congratulations to all of them. Very well played. And this truly means the end of a very special... Robbie is staring me down in the corner at the moment, and it's quite intimidating. Please, don't. I don't want my attack dropped, Robbie. That was the end of a very special season of UKITT, and I really want to thank everyone who came along to watch today. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who helped out on the stream, the production. You guys were amazing, and our casters, of course, truly were special.
Yeah.
And of course, a big thank you to, as we know him, Connagh CaisealBoy, for putting this whole thing together. Through the entire months of planning. It truly was special. And with that, we will see you all in either Season 5, or if you are coming to Liverpool, we will see you then. Goodbye.